Welcome back to a very special edition of the Hot or Not podcast right here on Think Critical Patreon channel memberships. And you'll be able to see this on YouTube, no matter who you are, or even on Spotify if you follow the podcast over there. Because I am out of town, we're doing a special episode. I'm not able to read and review all the new books from DC, Marvel, and indie comic books to talk about them with our good friends Jim or Dylan this week. So we're going to do something special. We're going to talk about the first quarter of 2026. Yes, we're already 25% or more through the entire year. What's hot right now in comic books and what's not? And we're going to bring in some of my better friends, the parts of the Thinking Critical family, the comics aficionados, if you will, for some one-on-one conversations. We got Dylan, Doc, we got Aaron Sparrow, Nickweiser, Sully, all coming in to talk about what they're really enjoying and a little bit about what they're not enjoying so far this year. So I hope you enjoy this. And I have some of my own hots I would like to talk about. Obviously, everybody is really enjoying the Energon Universe. G.I. Joe's been amazing. Transformers is on a bit of decline, but I still love G.I. Joe, Real American Hero as well. In fact, I don't know. As much as I do like G.I. Joe from Josh Williamson, and it's a great book, maybe Larry Hama's Real American Hero is a little bit better right now. That last issue with Andrew Cranky on art was absolutely flawless. I think I was a 10 out of 10. One of the last perfect comic books that I've read. I think it had been over a year since I gave anything a perfect score. That's how good I thought that particular issue is. And it's really awesome seeing Larry Hama really find his groove and get back into the G.I. Joe game with Real American Hero. He's been on this book for over 40 years at this point, and it's better now than it really ever has been. So that is a testament not only to Larry Hama and the team there with him, but certainly for the G.I. Joe franchise and Skybound, giving it new life, because it was basically a dead comic book franchise at IDW for quite some time. But everybody's loving Energon. It's about to get bigger with Mask. I think we're about to have some specials coming along as well. The reintroduction of Storm Shadow and the Arashikage stuff within the Josh Williamson run. Not sure how I feel about Mask. We'll see how that one turns out. I'm not the world's biggest Dan Waters fan, especially when it comes to superheroes. I think he's better and more abstract kind of ideas, but I'm hoping that one will be good as well. That'll be coming out pretty darn soon. Really enjoying Ghost Machine. Almost everything at Ghost Machine is really, really good. The downside of Ghost Machine is there are a lot of delays on the books, except for Redcoat. Apparently, Brian Hitch just hits all of his deadlines, and that book basically comes out on like clockwork, but Geiger's had major delays. Rook Exodus has had massive delays. Hyde Street just came off a delay. But all of those books, and I'm enjoying all of them, Hyde Street might be the best book now. It's kind of always swinging. I definitely was a Rook Exodus guy at first, streamed a little bit more over to a Redcoat kind of centric fan when Rook Exodus was on hiatus. I've really enjoyed Redcoat. Geiger's been picking up steam, and now Hyde Street has come in with like the coup de grace with Ivan Reis returning in this Butcher of Hyde Street story, which is absolutely amazing. And I really can't wait to see where that goes. And it's just a travesty, in my opinion, that more people aren't talking about and reading Ghost Machine, because a lot of people are out there doing stuff for speculators. And I think that's great. I think speculators are an important part of the market, but the most important part of the market, if you want comic books to be thriving in North America, is the reader market. And I don't think there's a publisher out there more invested in the reader market itself than Ghost Machine. I think they put everything in there to make sure that every single issue they put out is worth your time and money to open and actually read the story. And if you get great covers on top of that, sweet, it's a cherry on top. But I don't think enough people are realizing just how spectacular Ghost Machine is right now, specifically Hyde Street. If you like horror comic books, Jeff Johns, Ivan Reis, Hyde Street is picking up steam. Go get caught up. And I think that you will be very happy that you did that. So definitely be checking out Ghost Machine, in my humble opinion. What else is out there on the indie scene? Conan the Barbarian from Jim Zub is just absolutely spectacular. Huge Conan the Barbarian fan. One of my sons might be named after a Robert E. Howard character, because I'm that invested in the characters and universe and stuff like that. Had a huge impact on me. And Jim Zub, I think, would get the Robert E. Howard stamp of approval, if he was still around, seeing what Jim Zub is adding to the universe of Conan the Barbarian. And even more than that, because we've seen the team up with Cole, He certainly, in the pages of Savage Sword of Conan, has gone back and told different stories with different characters within those universes. And I think Jim Zub is doing just very admirable work over there. And, it's just like the indie scene is as hot as can be right now. That's where a lot of the quality is. Space Ghost by David Pepos and Jonathan Lau continues to be just a really good comic book series. Unfortunately, we did lose that Batman and Robin, in the first quarter of 2026 from Daniel Warren Johnson. I'm sorry, not Daniel Warren Johnson. Philip Kennedy Johnson, another one of the guys with the three names, where FICO Osio was the artist, where you had that Quiet Man story, and it was absolutely amazeballs. And I loved the relationship that PKJ was able to build up between Bruce and Damian. I think a lot of people continuously reset those two and don't do anything interesting. I thought he did tons of interesting things, specifically with their relationship, and I definitely missed that series, although it was definitely hot all the way to the end within that first quarter. But if there's another book out there that really exemplifies a great kind of Batman and Robin type of sidekick relationship, and it's all about the found family kind of aspects of it. And certainly you get all the pomp and circumstance, and you get all the action and all that kind of stuff that you would expect out of a superhero book like that. It is Space Ghost. It's basically Space Ghost with two Robins, Jason Jan, and, they've got a little monkey that's had some work on him, where he's got the big braid and all that kind of stuff, Blip. And it's really about, this kind of gruff and rough, take no prisoners type of superhero in Space Ghost being softened by these kids, and these kids coming of age, realizing that their family is gone. They found like their new surrogate dad, and them kind of just getting through things together and saving the universe time and time again. And if you like that kind of a dynamic, that Batman and Robin style relationship, you will find that nowhere else. And anywhere close to what you've enjoyed in the past, like you will in Space Ghost. It's an absolutely a fantastic series. Really enjoy that one. I wish I would praise the Marvel Comics a little bit more these days, but really it's Phil Kennedy Johnson again with Hulk. I think Marvel are doing him no favors these days, but Infernal Hulk has been really, really good. Unfortunately, we won't be seeing Nick Klein, it sounds like, maybe until the very end of the year, because he's basically taking off Infernal Hulk and that miniseries that's going to follow up, so we can do all the Hulk War stuff ahead of time and put it all in the can. So the Hulk has been really good. Obviously, they're building up to something big. I wish Marvel were supporting that book more, but it is very good. It's probably the best ongoing series. The only thing really in competition now that Spider-Man and Wolverine, which was great, a rare win for Mark Guggenheim, but with that Carrie Andrews art, it was very, very good. I think Gerardo Sandoval was the backup artist, which was also very good. Now that that's kind of off the table, it's a really good time, like a shockingly good time to be a Punisher fan. They are all in on Frank Castle after basically being, shamed out of using Frank Castle and the Punisher logo, and they had to get rid of it. And they brought Jason Aaron in to do a co-red on the character and send him to Weird World and all that stuff. And they tried to bring in David Pepos, who's doing great work on Space Ghost, in to create, was it Frank Garrison or something like that, some fake Punisher character. It never worked. Nobody cared, because people really only care about Frank Castle as Punisher. Obviously, they were going to have to do the mea culpa moment. They really never apologized, but they did give you like 3 or 4 Frank Castle Punisher books and projects all at the exact same time. We had a Punisher Red Band series from Ben Percy and Julius Ota, which ended in the very first month of the year. That was really, really cool. Pretty gory. Really like that big beefed up version of Frank Castle that we got in that series. Apparently it was successful enough. Now we've got an ongoing Punisher series from Ben Percy, not Julius Ota, but Jose Luis Suarez has come in, and he's maintained, that very big, like bulked up Jack Reacher type aesthetic for this Frank Castle. And I think it looks really, really good. I don't love his tombstone like I love Julius Ota's tombstone. I think that might have been the best looking tombstone I've ever seen, but he's been a big part of it. And they're doing really interesting things in the mainline, in continuity, version of Punisher, which is definitely a very welcome. Punisher is one of the coolest characters in all of Marvel Comics, and they're finally embracing Frank Castle. Again, you could do the logo, you can call him the Punisher, and he can do all those kind of things, because I think Marvel realized without Frank Castle, without that logo, the Punisher is basically worthless. So they've given us lots of that. There was a Marvel Knights Presents, like the World to Come, like miniseries from Jimmy Palmiotti. I feel so embarrassed. I'm forgetting the name of the artist, who's absolutely amazing. It's Dan Panosian. Always forgot that one. I am getting old these days. But that Marvel Knights Punisher series, pretty darn cool stuff. There's another Punisher Daredevil team up also from Jimmy Palmiotti that was kind of a throwback to fill in some of the blanks and tell that one of those historic Daredevil Punisher, meetup books from a different perspective that's also been going on. So it's kind of a good time to be a Punisher fan, shockingly. They can't get Spider-Man right. They can't get the X-Men right. They can't get Wolverine right. They can't get Captain America or Iron Man right. But they can finally get the character that they were the most ashamed of right in Frank Castle Punisher. And I definitely appreciate that. And the Ben Percy series has been really good. And if you don't know who Jose Luis Suarez is, I think that you will be pleasantly surprised. I think he's right up there with a Pepe Larraz, with a Nick Klein, being amongst the better artists at Marvel Comics right now. Another artist, he's not on a hot book, but he is hot. He's done amazing things. If you read the X-Men series, the X-Men series from Jed MacKay, at first it had Ryan Stegman. It wasn't the best Ryan Stegman art in the world, but Netho Diaz was doing a lot of the fill-in work, and now he's the primary artist on X-Men, and he has leveled up. And I've always been a Netho Diaz fan, but it's even better right now. And like Netho Diaz's take on Cyclops is really, really good. I don't love the story that MacKay is doing, but the art itself is really, really good. So if you're looking for great X-Men art, go check that out. Maybe you'll like the story more than I, but the art itself is really good. But certainly DC is far surpassed Marvel Comics these days, even into the first quarter of 2026. When it comes to quality storytelling, the Absolute Universe is the biggest thing in all of American comic books. Really seems to be driving a lot of the resurgence and interest in American comic books, led by Absolute Batman. We just came off of 2 issues with Eric Canetti as a guest artist with the Poison Ivy stuff, and it looked amazing. I like Absolute Batman. I obviously don't love it quite as much as other people. I don't think it's the best thing in the world. I don't think it's the best comic book at DC by far. I don't even think it's the best Absolute comic book, but it's a fun comic book. It's a wild comic book. It's kind of nuts. And if you're looking for that kind of over-the-top, weird, super violent action with really grotesque characters and stuff like that, you're going to enjoy Absolute Batman. Scott Snyder's doing a good job. Nick Dragotta finally getting the love and recognition that he's earned throughout his career. So I love seeing that. I do think Absolute Wonder Woman is the better book, just as far as story-wise and fleshing the character out. I don't love the Hayden Sherman art. I love the layouts. And I kind of like some of the mood and the tone and stuff that he does. Not so great at action, in my personal opinion. So I wish they would put that Matthias Delula. I don't know. I always mix that up. I wish they would put that person on as a full-time artist on Absolute Wonder Woman. But the story itself and the characterization, I personally think, as someone that really loves superheroes, is a cut above Absolute Batman. Absolute Superman is getting better. We just had 2 issues with my personal favorite artist, Juan Ferreira, on there. And it seems to be elevating. And maybe Superman is going to become a bit more of a heroic type of character under Jason Aaron, because he hadn't really been that for a while. And I would go back and it would just kind of always turn me off. I feel like I'm starting to get into this Absolute Superman. So there's definitely some good stuff in the Absolute Universe. But me personally, the best stuff going on at DC now that Batman and Robin under Philip Kennedy Johnson is over are the Jeremy Adams books. I really like Green Lantern. I'm sad that Hal Jordan is no longer going to be the starring character in Green Lantern. We just had the passing of the baton in Green Lantern 600. It's going to be Kyle Rayner now. Hal will be in the backup stories. But I definitely fully trust Jeremy Adams that he'll do a great job maintaining the consistency, the storytelling, the excitement, and just the fun vibes that Green Lantern has had up until now. Like I said, wish it was Hal, but I can definitely take me some Kyle Rayner. And it certainly looked like Zermanico, who's going to stick on the book. is upping his game. Love seeing V. Ken Marion in that issue 600. And Green Lantern just continues to be a great book. I'm a huge Green Lantern fan, so I'm enjoying that one. Emperor Aquaman continues to get kind of better and better. I love the John Timms art, and I like the way that Jeremy Adams is portraying Aquaman as, not kind of a goober. He's very powerful, and, he's even got a bit of a, he's not the Punisher, but he's got a bit of a violent streak when he needs to take action, and it needs to be decisive action. This Aquaman kind of does that. Now he's expanding it out, and we're going to the cosmos with Aquaman, which seems a little bit weird. But now he's, not just the king of the seven seas on Earth. He's in charge of all the bodies of water, like throughout the galaxy. And it's going to lead to like a team up with Hal Jordan and Aquaman in space, which I'm definitely looking forward to. But I like Jeremy kind of expanding the Aquaman mythos. And I think he's doing a really good job on that one. And there's just a lot of things to enjoy at DC Comics. The Josh Williamson Superman run has been very, very good. Once we got rid of like Farm and Graft, it felt like he really found his footing. He had some really good tie-ins with DCKO, and not everybody can say that. Now we've got Superboy Prime taking the place of Superman. I'd prefer Superman. I'm not going to lie. I don't love change, but that first issue with Superboy Prime, in the starring role was really, really good. And I enjoyed it quite a bit. So there's plenty of things, within the Absolute Universe, but also within continuity at DC Comics these days that I think people are going to enjoy. We got the first issue of Deathstroke the Terminator. I thought that was a pretty darn good start. We'll see what happens with Firestorm. I love the art in Lobo. I didn't love the story. I thought the Kyle Stark stuff that he did last year was better, but the art by Jorge Corona on Lobo was like fucking peerless. It was amazing art, like just such cool stuff going on there. And I really enjoy the aesthetic that Jorge Corona is now using after being on Transformers for so long and really making a name for himself. So DC, if you want like big two superhero comic books, it's not even close. You go to DC, that's where kind of all the quality is. You go to Marvel, and you just kind of wonder what happened. Not that everything is amazing at DC Comics. I mean, if you go read Nightwing, oh my goodness, that book is bad. I've been suffering through this Dan Waters Nightwing run where you had this stupid War of the Teddies and Flyboys and all these stupid, gangs with gimmicks, which I'm not opposed to. I love Warriors. If you want to give me some gimmicked up gangs and stuff like that, but the storytelling was bad. And then it transitions into this stupid zany story, and it's all about like the gods of the circus or something stupid like that. And it was awful. Like you didn't want to read it. And we were promised when we got into the next level that we were going to change up Nightwing. It was going to become more ground level, kind of what you're looking for. And you get into the first issue with Dennis Cowan, whose art is really, really good, by the way. Like the best Dennis Cowan art I've seen in like a decade. But it's him dealing with some like witch ghost on a highway. You're like, this is not grounded in anything. This is more bullshit. And Dan Waters just does not have a feel for Nightwing whatsoever. The Flash book under Cy Sprayer has certainly been worse, but I like Nightwing more than Flash. And I just really wish it would be good again, because Nightwing is just, it's a rough read. Another rough read from DC Comics has been Tom King's Wonder Woman. And we're about to get like the Wonder War. Everything needs to be a fucking war now. But we're getting the matriarch and the death of Diana and the return of Steve Trevor and fucking Trinity and all that stuff. What just an enormous waste of great art from Daniel St. Pierre on this just revolting Wonder Woman run. I can't imagine any Wonder Woman fan enjoying this. It's just been so bad. But those are the outliers, thankfully. Most of DC stuff is good, or at least, kind of mid, and you don't get a lot of just terribleness out of DC. But Nightwing and Wonder Woman are absolutely terrible. You get way more terrible if you go over to Marvel Comics. And I don't know, man. The 2 issues of Death Spiral with Ed McGuinness are certainly more bearable because the art is really, really good. And it feels like Joe Kelly has a better handle on that story than Al Ewing does, but it's still not good. it's not as bad as the Venom stuff or whenever Al Ewing's writing it, but it's a bad story. Like you have to believe that there's this character Torment and that Carnage, unbeknownst to Eddie Brock, because he's wearing Carnage right now, is working with Torment to, basically target the families of MJ and Peter and Eddie Brock. And then when Eddie Brock realizes what Carnage has done, and Spider-Man and Venom, because MJ's Venom right now, are aware of this, that there's nothing that they can do to stop Carnage because it's attached to Eddie. As if there aren't, 50 other symbiotes for him to go attach himself to if he's going to die. Or I don't know, if you're a fucking hero, maybe it's time to sacrifice knowing that you got this serial killer symbiote that's working with this other serial killer to go out there and kill your entire family and your buddy's family and all this kind of stuff. And it's just the premise itself, it's paper thin and it falls apart, unfortunately. So Death Spiral has just been bad. And you're sitting there just kind of wondering, I thought Spider-Man was fighting Hellgate. I thought that's why he had to go to space, was to come back and fight Hellgate. But we got this just like stupid, like intermission story that is just bad. And the Jesus Saya's art makes it completely unbearable. At least get Ed McGuinness to do the whole fucking thing. And, the less said about just the entire X-Men franchise, the better. It's appalling what the X-Men have devolved into. X-Men of Apocalypse is kind of readable right now. It's kind of, it's hard to understand, but the art's good. And at least the characters feel like themselves, even if the story itself is kind of a jumbled mess. But that's it. Like, there's really nothing else redeeming about the X-Men franchise right now. And they're putting out like 17 books a month. And they pretty much all suck. And it shouldn't be like that. Like, there should be good stuff going on there. The good thing is that they're canceling all their books in 5 to 10 issues. So I'm like, whatever, man. At least it won't be around for very long. This new Daredevil from Stephanie Phillips will last 5 days or 5 issues, maybe 10 issues max. And then we'll start over. But they just don't have any talent. And it sounds like no talent wants to work for them. And they kind of earned it, because there is almost no interest in telling good stories these days. They don't have it in them. I don't think they care. And most of their franchises are just their cheeks right now. They're buttholes. There's nothing really going on in Marvel Comics that's worth talking about outside of Hulk and Punisher, in a positive light. Unfortunately, you do look for the bright moments here or there, and maybe you get a miniseries every once in a while, but it's kind of the abyss right now. It's like just not much going on there. So those are my thoughts about the hot or not stuff for the first quarter of 2026. Now let's bring in our friends. Let's talk to Dylan, Doc. I think it's Sully, Nick, and then Aaron. I think that's the order that they're going to come in. I'm going to have timestamps for all of them, just in case you want to go to your favorite guest on the channel and hear what they have to say first, or some stuff like that. Or, hey, maybe you just don't like Sully and you want to skip it. I wouldn't blame you. I'm teasing. You definitely want to listen to Sully. He's the Prince of Positivity for a reason. Next up, we've got Dylan, the Real Comic Book Gamer, to give his hot or not for the first quarter of the year 2026. What do you think are the hottest comic books going on right now, dude?
I think my hottest right now, it's only 2 issues in to this new thing, is Hyde Street. I'm really loving what he's doing with Hyde Street. All the time with the Ghost Machine books, it's kind of like whatever came out latest is my favorite. But currently what's going on with Hyde Street, I think, is what's got me most interested, because ever since they came back, they've been set up the Butcher of Hyde Street. And you see that he's locked away, like, because Hyde Street is just full of dangerous people. Everyone there is bad. Like, you have some people that is unfortunate how they got there. But for the most part, it's all like bastards and terrible people. But the Butcher of Hyde Street is so bad that he's locked away. And then you see in this latest issue that it may be for different reasons than you think. And he's got like a different ability than others. Like, he's able to infiltrate their minds somehow. And like what he was able to do in this last issue with Pranky was very interesting. And he was revealing that Hyde Street isn't what you think. Because right now you think it's sort of like a purgatory type thing. And the scorekeeper is kind of like Satan, sort of. But now it's like, maybe it seems like the scorekeeper's up to something else. And maybe it's not just purely punishing bad people, but there's something else at play. And like, I'm really into Hyde Street. That's probably like what I'm most interested in at the moment.
There was a really weird moment in that issue, which is beautifully illustrated by Ivan Reis, by the way. But where the Dr. X-Ray, Mr. X-Ray guy, his daughter like comes through and it's like, I've opened the door. I've only got seconds that he might find out, but what's happening or what you're experiencing isn't what you think it is.
Yes.
What does that mean?
Yeah.
What's going on here?
Yeah, and that's also what the butcher was teasing too, where it's like, I was locked up for these reasons. Like the scorekeeper's up to something, like it's different than you think. It's like, oh, so there's been like this whole time for these first like 10 issues or so, like we thought it was one thing and now it seems to be turned on its head. It's like, I'm really interested to see how this plays out.
Yeah, that Ivan Reis art is just spectacular. That's kind of one of the drawbacks, I think, of Ghost Machine, because I think most of their books are actually really, really good. The only book that ever like comes out basically every month is Red Coat.
Yep.
Whereas Hyde Street, Rook Exodus, and Geiger have all taken, kind of big breaks.
Yeah. Yeah, it's unfortunate. That's the big problem with Ghost Machine, because Ghost Machine is great. I love it. All the books I read there are really good, but man, they just constantly go on hiatus, which is very unfortunate.
Yeah, because I love Rook Exodus. I think everybody knows that. And I think the Jason Fabok stuff he's doing with the characters with Rook and Dire Wolf and even this spider character and the stag one, I think might have the coolest design where it's like a samurai deer like inspired character. And it went away for like 6 months. Like, oh, they're trying to get an entire story arc, in the can before they come back. And it's just kind of gone away again.
Yeah, we got like 2 issues, and then I think we got like a little delay, and then the 3rd issue, and then we're back on a huge delay again. I was like, what was he doing during those 6 months? I thought he would have some in the bag and be enough to where he could keep up and we get one each month. But no, we're like on a huge delay again. It sucks.
So what do you think about the other 2 big ones? You got Red Coat and Geiger, and it appears that they're about to cross over, because in Geiger, they've got this, I don't know, this time traveling tank with the Northerner, and it's got like seats, so they've got placards on them. One of them's the Northerner, one of them's, Tariq Geiger, and then another one is Red Coat.
I'm really liking it. I like it a lot. I think Red Coat was at its best when it was one-off issues. That's my favorite stuff from Red Coat. It was just random adventures, one-off issues. But I'm interested to see how it builds up to the Unknown War. And Geiger's always been great. That was my favorite Ghost Machine book, and I'm really digging it right now. And the Northerner is very interesting. I like him a lot as a character because he's kind of being manipulated by these random people who are like, yeah, in another life, the North won the Civil War, and then that led to you in the future having a wife and a family and everything was chill instead of now your current life sucks. And he doesn't even know if any of that's true. He's just being told that. And so like every time something comes up, he's just kind of like going with the flow. He doesn't really know. I think the Northerner's a really interesting character. Of course, it's Gary Frank on there, so it looks beautiful. And I like the Northerner and Geiger's dynamic as well. In this latest issue, it was cool to see the difference between him and the what's it called? The Lady Geiger, whatever her name is. I can't remember her name.
Ash Arden?
Yeah, Ash Arden, because she taught the kids how to like defend themselves, which is obviously very important in this world because it's a very violent post-apocalyptic world that they get taken advantage of. But she was very like the fist, and you have Geiger who comes in and like teaches them more about, because he was a good dad. I like that too. He's like, you're a good dad, weren't you? He's like, yeah, I was the best. I like that bit in this last issue, and he's teaching them more about the more to be like kids, that they don't have to throw away their entire childhoods and reading them stories and leaving books behind for them. I like that a lot.
Yeah, I like when Geiger gets a moment to express his humanity, because he's such a jaded, kind of cynical character. He, protected the vault for all those years, waiting for it to be safe for his wife and kids, and he finally opens it and they're dead. Then he's got nothing essentially to live for, but he's got this great power. And almost like a Clint Eastwood kind of character back in the day in his Westerns where, the accidental savior doesn't really want to help anybody, but ends up doing it. But when he saw the girl with the books, he's like, oh, you're going to read those? She's like, I don't know how to read. Next thing you know, he's like doing a dramatic reading of Jack and the Beanstalk.
Yeah, and they're all hooked because none of them have ever heard any stories before. Like their life has been hell, and now they're just like all locked into it. And then at the end of that, he sees his family. I was like, oh man, because they're messing with the time travel there. So you don't know how that's going to play out. It's intriguing.
Yeah, I think most of the Ghost Machine books are really, really good. Not just like kind of good, but like almost great. The way I described it to Doc recently is I think as far as like all the publishers or imprints out there, I feel like Ghost Machine is the most for readers. They don't go into like a billion covers. They don't tend to do lots of different variants and stuff like that. But they're focusing in on story, and it feels like they're not getting the love that they probably deserve for the amount of good books they're putting out.
Yeah, when at Dallas Fan Expo, I talked to Tomasi about that, and he's like, "Yeah," he said, "I felt like we rung the bell, hit pretty hard, but we didn't really get the readers." And he said he thinks it's going to take a movie or a show or something to really legitimize them and get people into it, which may be the thing. I mean, that's what got Invincible to the next level. That's what got everyone in Super and Invincible. So maybe, because I know we got the Redcoat movie that's going to be happening. If they can get something good to hook people in, maybe that'll get people into Ghost Machine, because it deserves it, because the quality's there. The only problem is the publishing schedule.
Well, and Image is just doing kind of good stuff. You know, obviously they got the Ghost Machine imprint, but they've also got Energon over at Skybound, which is really, really good. You know, we just had a big conversation about G.I. Joe and everything, but that stuff's great too.
Yes, G.I. Joe's been great. Both, it's really nice having both those books, having a Real American Hero and Williamson's, because as we talked about a bit with Aaron, talking about how like the liberties that are taken with the Williamson stuff, it's like I appreciate that because you have the Hama Real American Hero stuff, so that way like you have something different. Because I wouldn't want something that's the exact same, so it's nice that you have a little different there. Then you have something that's more like welcoming and home feeling at the at a Real American Hero. So if you want the classic stuff, you have that. And both are great quality books. Both have something that's very rare now, is all the artists on both books are great. Like when there's a backup artist in there, you're like, oh, this is great. Like you're not sad that the main artist is out. Unlike with a lot of Marvel and DC stuff, when it's a fill-in artist, it's like, oh no.
Yeah, kind of pick your poison. Is it going to be good or not? You just never know.
Yeah.
No, I don't have a lot of great things to say about Marvel right now, but obviously DC is kind of taking the market lead. You're more of a DC guy, specifically. I think Superman's your number one. We both loved Batman and Robin from Philip Kennedy Johnson. Unfortunately, that's over. It was great all the way until the end of his run. I thought it was just fantastic stuff. What else is going on at DC?
Superman's really good, like we talked about. Superboy Prime taking over, because we're just now at the new, like, was it Next Level? Yeah, that's what it's called. Their new Next Level initiative. I'm like we talked about before. I'm a huge Deathstroke fan. That first issue was a good issue, so I'm excited to see where that goes, and hopefully Tony Fleeks can keep up with that. We got a new Flash creative team, like Ryan North's on there, right? I haven't read that yet. I'm not sure how that is. Absolute Flash is entering in its second arc, and the beginning was good. I like what we got, Linda Park, so that's looking up because that hasn't been very good. JSA is pretty good with year one. I'm enjoying that. Nightwing's terrible. We've got where it's going to be a new grounded night. That first issue, I read it. I'm off it back again because I'd read like the first little bit, didn't like what Dan Waters did, jumped off, then came back for this new Dennis Cowan arc. Hated that first issue. I'm off on that. Lobo first issue had an interesting setup. We'll see where that goes.
The art was spectacular, though.
Yes, the art was amazing. I have no idea when we're going to get it, but we're getting Jonah Hex. I want to see what the creative team for that is. I'm excited for that. Ezra Kane so far has been great. The Brutal Dark from Condon and Phillips. That's 2 issues in. That's really good. I'm enjoying that. That's part of their new Vertigo line. What else do we got at DC? I know I'm missing something. Well, obviously,
you're missing
Batman.
Jeremy Adams, dude.
Oh yeah, Green Lanterns. We got the Kyle Rayner era is here. That issue 600 was great. I love that. I'm excited to see where that goes. That looks promising. Emperor Aquaman's really good. We were talking about that him and Hal teaming up in space. That looks cool. Excited for Aquaman. I was doing
the solicitations, and as soon as I saw the cover and I read the solicitation, I was like, I need to send that one over to Dylan. He's going to like that as much as I do.
Yeah, that looks sick. I'm excited. A space adventure with Hal and Aquaman like escaping some space prison. Sounds sick. No way that's boring.
Yeah, I guess Aquaman gets taken prisoner and he gets taken to the cell, and like Hal apparently has been there for a while. He's got this big beard. He's just kind of hanging there. I was like, that's going to be good. There's no way that's bad.
Yeah, that should be fun. Absolute Batman has been pretty good. I've been enjoying that. We're about to enter into the Scarecrow stuff there because we just finished the Ivy stuff. So I'm excited to see where that goes. We got Absolute Green Arrow coming. That looks interesting. The art looks good. So I hope that's good.
Have you seen the Absolute Black Canary?
Yes, I saw one where she looked like a man and it looked terrible. Then I saw like another where she looked all right. So I was hoping they're not leaning towards that one cover where she looked like a man. That one looked
I looked at
very
June's
strong jawline, short hair.
solicitations, and she's pretty beefed up.
Ugh. Well,
Yeah.
that doesn't sound good. But Green Arrow himself looked cool and interesting, being like a spirit of vengeance, sort of. That looked cool.
Yeah, but it's a good time to be a Superman fan. I think Josh Williamson has just kind of found his groove on Superman.
He really has.
And
Yeah.
the Dan Mora art certainly doesn't hurt at all.
Are so good. And Eddie Barrows is good as film artist. And now that we like when we got past all that stupid like graft and whatever stuff, like when we got past that was really when he entered his flow state. Like when we first entered into like the Dark Legion and then went into the KO and now here with Superboy Prime, like he's been on a ride. It's been really good.
Yeah, I definitely recommend Superman to everybody. And I did read that that last issue of Absolute Superman with Juan Ferreira on it.
Yeah.
And I'm going to come back and check it out again. Hopefully I don't get burned.
Yeah, that's how I feel as well, because I dropped off after issue 2. I didn't like it. Then I came back when Juan Ferreira was on with Hawkman, and I read those 2 issues. I was like, this is really good. So now I'm back on Absolute Superman. Hopefully it stays consistent this time.
Yeah, I think Juan Ferreira is just my favorite artist now. You know, I've always really liked him. You know, I liked his Killmonger series. He's done a lot of cool stuff. I thought he was just amazing on TMNT. Obviously, TMNT is really good right now, by the way. But once he did those Absolute Superman issues, I was like, yeah, he's just the best.
Yeah, he's really good.
He's got such a cool style.
He does have a great style. He's really cool.
You checked out that TMNT, right?
Yeah, I read that issue. The one where Splinter was that one spirit or whatever and got captured. Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah, the Freddie Williams arts are good there too.
Yeah, it's a fun book.
It's like night and day from 2 years ago. There's like really good books out there now.
Yeah, there's a lot of great comics. So we haven't even got to the Remender stuff. Is really good. I'm really enjoying that. Sacrificers is coming to an end. Escape just finished its first arc, which I loved. Escape, that was really good. I'm excited to see whatever Remender does next.
Yeah, he's a really cool creator. I guess he had a chance to go do in Batman or X-Men. He turned them both down to keep doing his giant generator stuff.
I get that because his giant generator stuff is great, but man, with how good he was on X-Force, I'd have loved to see him on X-Men. I feel like he's one of the few guys that could actually do something good now with X-Men.
X-Men could use the love. So you don't read much X-Men these days. Every once in a while, I'll make it a topic, on a Comics Aficionados, or maybe we'll do a Hot or Not, and you go back. What's the feeling on X-Men?
Everything I read from X-Men is bad. The only thing I like is Ultimate Wolverine, which is so far separated from like Marvel X-Men. But everything I read from like the mainline stuff is bad. I read when they relaunched with the new number ones, I read like a lot of that stuff and it was really bad. I just read the first issue. And then again, when you put as a topic or something or Hot or Not, I'll jump in and check something out. It's like these books don't care about any of this. They need to get back to like superhero comics with the X-Men. I don't care about all this social stuff or like, oh, woe is me mutant stuff. It's like, it's very played out and I don't care.
I know you're a big Wolverine fan. You didn't make it past one issue on the Saudi Nomad Wolverine?
No, I read the first issue of that, and I read like issue 300 where Dan Warren Johnson had a backup story, and those were both really bad. I was not a fan of what he's doing with Wolverine.
Yeah, he started out with like the adamantine, which is like god metal that spun off into adamantium, and it hates adamantium because it was a false metal or something stupid. I don't think that we need these types of deep origin stories for things like adamantium.
Yeah, you know we don't. We don't need everything explained. It's pointless. It's stupid. I don't care about this stuff. You just need, like, Wolverine's such an easy character to write. Send him on a motorcycle somewhere, have him go on adventures, helping people. Like, he's essentially
little
like
girls in trouble, goes and saves her.
Have him be like a Ronin cowboy type deal. That's all you gotta do. Very simple.
Yeah, well, he's in Canada right now, banging Silver Sable. I think that's
because I read that last issue for Hot or Not, and he was there. He's got his own sort of commune with like mutants he's helping, and him and Silver Sable are like, we both know what this is. We're just enjoying each other's bodies type deal. It's like, okay.
Yeah, the art's not terrible.
No, but Infernal Hulk's really good. I'm still enjoying Infernal Hulk a lot. It's really good.
Infernal Hulk is very interesting. I like the series, but I don't like the way that they're managing it. I don't like that it started out as Incredible Hulk, then they shut it down, created Infernal Hulk. They're going to stop that after 10 issues. We're going to get a 4-issue miniseries, and then they're going to have like Hulk War or something like that. It should just be one storyline.
Yeah, it should all just be in part of Incredible Hulk, and then you just name the different arcs. Like this arc is called Infernal Hulk. Yeah, but this is Marvel in a nutshell now, as they do. It's like any excuse to do a new number one, they'll take it. But the storytelling in the art's been great. I've really enjoyed it.
Who was it? I was doing Best of the Week with Drew, and he said he thinks Jose Luis Suarez, who's doing the Punisher book, is the best artist at Marvel right now. And I was like, Nick Klein.
The current Punisher book or Red Band?
The current Punisher book that's 2 issues in with Ben Percy.
I mean, his art's not bad, but I would say he's far from the best artist at Marvel.
I think he's pretty good, but he's not anywhere close to Nick Klein for me.
I wouldn't put him anywhere close to the top tier at Marvel.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's not bad. But yeah, Nick Klein leagues ahead of him.
Yeah. Is there anything else out there that normally you would be dipping your toes in or enjoying that maybe just isn't where you think it should be? Oh, you mentioned Nightwing. That's the most egregious one to me.
Yeah, Nightwing's really bad right now. Sad.
Yeah, because they went and they changed all these creative teams when they, like, okay, the Flash isn't working, Titans isn't working. We're going to get new creative direction with Next Level. But they didn't do it with Nightwing. They changed the artist, and I don't think that he was
Dexter
the problem.
Wasn't the problem. Yeah, Dexter was great.
Yeah, I think Dan Waters and his direction for Nightwing are just terrible.
Yeah, he doesn't fit the character. It's clearly he doesn't understand Nightwing. He doesn't get it. And he's carried over the wrong things from Tom Taylor as well, because Tom Taylor's run was bad.
Yeah. I did not like the Haunted Highway. And it makes Nightwing look so stupid. And he's already made Nightwing look really, really stupid, just throughout his entire run. But him sitting there while a lady has a knife to his throat and him acting like nothing's happening, even though he's supposed to be a
blood's coming out of her eyes, and he's just I was like, "Oh no, you're bleeding!" I was like, "This is clearly something else. This is not just a regular. Oh, she got cut."
Yeah, but just doesn't make the character look good.
No, and that's for a while now because Tom Taylor had him be a big old dumbass too, so it's carried over from that.
Yeah, that one's pretty egregiously bad, unfortunately. Because I love Nightwing. Yep. He's probably my number. He's my number one or number two. Right up there with Hal, probably.
Yeah, he's
what do you think about What do you think about Fraction's Batman?
I'm enjoying it ever since the date issue. So the first, 3 or 4 issues, I wasn't really on board. I did a whole video on it talking about it because the first issue was okay, second issue was terrible, and then the next couple were but then I think it was issue 5 was the date issue, or 4. 4 was the date issue, I think, because where 6 was the last one with Joker, right? 6 was the last one. Yeah. So 4, 5, and 6, I think are good. I've enjoyed. Since then, I liked what he's done with it. Jorge Jimenez is obviously incredible, and I thought what they did most recently with Joker, I like that issue. We'll see how it plays out with his new arc because we got the whole someone's coming to kill you, Bruce, and Joker knows Bruce's identity, which is always fluid about whether Joker knows Bruce is Batman or not, but currently he does. And so I don't know who's hunting him. I know we're about to get, what I'm not excited for, they're about to tie into the Poison Ivy as mayor thing from G. Willow Wilson, which I wish they would just stay away from that. I don't need to see that. I don't care. But once we get past that, we'll see. I'm not interested in his, what's it called? The dude with the bullhead character. He's just like an amalgamation of those. Yeah, Minotaur. He's an amalgamation of those 2 Tynan characters. And it's like, I didn't care for those 2 Tynan characters. Why are we why are we putting them into one with this guy? I don't find him interesting. But the last 3 issues have been good, and I've enjoyed what he's done with Batman. Just the first 3 weren't very good.
I think we kind of forgot about this one. We'll finish up the not portion of this, I guess, with the Batman Hush 2. Jeff Loeb, Jim Lee, massively delayed. But even when it was arriving, the Jim Lee art is good, but it's like Jeff Loeb stopped reading Batman comics, and I don't know what it is.
It's terrible. And I'm someone that likes the first Hush. I know a lot of people don't like it, just think the art's good. I actually enjoyed the first Hush. But this one's terrible. This sequel is awful. It's like he has no idea. Like, it's like he missed everything that happened with Jason Todd, like every single thing. Because we're covering stuff where it's like, we've been there, done that. What are we doing? It's really bad, unfortunately. Because I didn't expect much going into it, but I thought it would be decent. Because like last Halloween was good, so Jeff Loeb can still write. It's just Hush 2 it's bad.
Yeah, I think Hush is the best, maybe illustrated Batman story I've ever seen. Like, I think it's like gorgeously done, but the story itself is just fine, which is maybe all it needs to be when you have art that good. But Hush 2 is not getting anywhere near those levels.
Yeah, Hush 2 is really bad.
Man. So that'll do it, dude. So you are all over Ghost Machine, you're on Energon, and definitely enjoying Superman these days.
Yeah, I'm enjoying DC, Energon, Ghost Machine. I'm enjoying Rick Remender's stuff. Yeah, there's a lot of good comics out there.
All right, Doc. We are a quarter of the way through 2026 already. Crazy, right? We've already done 3 months into this. There's some books that are working, not working. You specifically are more excited about new comic books today than you were at this point last year. What is the hotness right now? What has got you coming in to your comic book shop and wanting to have conversations about books?
You know what? It's G.I. Joe. It's G.I. Joe Real American Hero. And it's honestly, I've really been enjoying what Mark Silvestri is doing with his kind of relaunching, starting over of his Top Cow universe. I didn't really read Witchblade. I'm still not into that, but The Darkness, for the first time, I'm picking that up. I was kind of taking a break for non-X-Men books when The Darkness first launched back in the 90s. So this is giving me, I feel like I'm getting in almost on the ground floor of it.
But right now, your anchor franchise is G.I. Joe, right?
100%. Yeah, that's the thing that keeps me coming to the comic shop on a regular basis. Not enough quite yet to get me to restart a pull list, but I'm getting closer. I mean, basically everything's Skybound right now.
Oh yeah, because you didn't even mention Battle Beast, dude.
No, I didn't. And I know that they're going to be doing some other Invincible Universe
Capes is about to start
projects. Yep. So I'm looking at it going, there's a little bit of everything that I fucking like here. Now I'm not reading Transformers, and the more I hear, the less I want to. First, I'm not going to give money to them for whatever the fuck the guy was that did the first 24 issues, because fuck that guy. And now that I know it's probably just a story, but Optimus making a chick the new Prime, sorry. I still have an issue with her being
not make Alita the new Prime. The Matrix of Leadership chose her.
Same fucking difference.
Well, Optimus didn't just say, like, yeah, you're the new Prime. He said, let's let the Matrix decide, and it decided it was her. But that's the bad stuff. We're here to talk about the good stuff. What is it about Josh Williamson's G.I. Joe that's just really resonated with you?
You know what? First of all, I've actually really liked kind of the new character of Risk that they added in there. But at the same time, he's doing something that most creators don't do, which is he's keeping him very limited exposure. Like, it's a new character. It's a brand new character for the book. Normally, the writers have this tendency of beating you over the head with it. Josh Williamson's not doing that. And I fucking love that about this.
I agree with you 100%. I think adding like a Texas Ranger to the G.I. Joe team, sure, let's do it. Why not have a Texas Ranger, but not throwing him and making him like the most important character, or we need to see what this guy is all about, or you must love him immediately. Just, hey, there's going to be a little bit of conflict with Clutch, but they're going to overcome it, and he's going to know about Hound. So he's involved in some important stuff, but he's not the focal point yet. I think is actually really, really smart.
It really is. It feels like, oh, okay, we have a plan here, and we're going to take our time getting there. They're not trying to get the character over super quick because they're not. Josh feels like he's like, I got plenty of fucking time. I can do this at my own leisure. This book's not going anywhere anytime soon. And so I've really enjoyed that. I've liked I especially love the tension with Baroness, in that we know inevitably she's going to turn. She's gonna, she has those, and she's kind of not, she's not a good person in the comic. They're trying to make her a better person. Like, and she's getting like a little bit of redemption from, like, it started off as she was just straight up a terrorist and an assassin and a hired killer that did it for fun, and because she was bored being a rich girl. And now we know that she's probably gonna go to the Cobra side at some point. She's probably
gotta fall for Destro, dude.
She's gotta fall for Destro eventually, but it's not happening yet. We're waiting for that other shoe to drop, and there's a lot of tension for that. And there's just enough tension saying maybe they go a completely different way for the first time with this. Also, they're not jumping the gun with the ninjas and bringing that in.
He was already introduced in a miniseries from Kelly Thompson with the Scarlet miniseries, but we haven't seen him since then. Although Storm Shadow and the Irish Chicago will be arriving in the next couple months.
I know, but yeah, you're 20. But that Kelly Thompson book was a miniseries before G.I. Joe launched. So we're at 20 issues, 21 issues almost, where they haven't brought them in. They're taking their time. The patience in the storytelling is so fucking good. But at the same time, it doesn't feel Bendis decompressed. They're advancing the plot with regularity. They're little, like, kind of event things that are happening in there. They're only 3-issue story arcs maximum.
Did you like Dreadnought War?
I did like the Dreadnought War. Now, whether or not it should have been called the Dreadnought War, I feel like they should have, because I feel like the whole war is Joe versus Cobra. That should have been like
but it's the Dreadnoughts were trying to assassinate Cobra Commander, and the Joes had to team up with Cobra to fight off the Dreadnoughts. And of course, they got screwed over in the end.
And I get that, but calling it the Dreadnought War, I would have called it like the Dreadnought, I don't know, some sort of like skirmish or whatever. I mean, it's a battle within
the Dreadnought Hullabaloo.
Yeah, like, again, you already have the main war, that's the whole point of the book. But because it's a war comic, whether or not we want to admit it or not, it's a war comic. And but that's me just being like pedantic.
Absolutely. I agree.
So they're introducing a lot of this stuff nice and slow. They're not banging you over the head with the stuff. They're teasing, but they're also providing payoffs with
what do you think
regularity.
What do you think about Cobra Commander in the cartoons, comic booky, or over the top, imbecile, maniacally evil, most of the time loses because he's a moron. Yeah. Comic books, he's a little bit more dangerous, but I've never seen him quite this dangerous.
Yes, this is a very, very competent Cobra Commander. And I love that. That's the problem with Cobra Commander, in my opinion, in the cartoon. Yes, he has these great plans, but they're easily foiled. But they're done for fucking children. This is, and I don't want to say this is the mature readers G.I. Joe, but this is the
This is the
actually
12-year-old that
complex.
grew up on G.I. Joe. The G.I. Joe he gets when he's 45.
Yes, exactly. This is a much more okay. We have all this crazy shit. We're accepting the robots running around, the energon, the laser weapons, the fucking Cobra Law stuff, ninjas in your military force, all the mercenaries, the rednecks that really like grape soda. You know, we're accepting all the ostentatiousness of that, but at the same time, they're taking it seriously. So it shows this is the G.I. Joe movie that I fucking want. If they can,
You're never gonna get that one.
I know. If they could film this as the fucking G.I. Joe movie, it would make millions.
So what do you think about Real American Hero? Larry Hama basically restarting or just continuing on what he was doing at IDW that was canceled due to low sales, wasn't going very well. Picks up the story with Skybound in tow, better editorial support, great artists, and Doug Braithwaite. We've got Chris Mooneyham in there. And I think
Paul
it's been just as good as the Josh Williamson series.
I think it has been too, because I feel like it's gotten back to kind of the way it was in the Marvel series back in the 80s and early 90s. It's still the continuation of getting more and more ridiculous over time. Remember, I mean, G.I. Joe was literally a special mission force against a ruthless terrorist organization that had a weapons dealer. But they added so much crazy, all that ostentatious crazy shit that's present in the Josh Williamson book is taken to extremes, because you got 30 years of story behind it, leading up to it in the Real American Hero book. This is where I could see the Joe book, 10 years from now. So in a way, it very much serves, like, whenever it was under IDW, it started falling for, and I don't know if this was Larry Hama. I know he's a fairly lefty dude, but he went with the everything else in comics, which was put a chick in it, make it gay and stupid. And he started doing that to G.I. Joe over at IDW. And then, yeah, of course, the book fucking failed. And then all the spin-off books failed, and the other stuff that they were doing failed. But now he's over at Skybound, and I don't know if this is his choice or if this is editorial edict on him, but it's get rid of all that stupid shit you added at IDW. You can keep the characters. Like, Dawn Moreno's fine now. Instead of, but she's Dawn Moreno. She's not fucking Snake Eyes. And they're not trying to force her to be Snake Eyes. It's like, I like Laura Kinney, but when you try to tell me she's fucking Wolverine is when I want to punch you in the face, because she fucking isn't. And they've added all the ninja stuff and all that. They've kept a lot of that, kind of DEI stuff that they added at IDW, but they're not stressing it. They've backed off from all of the kind of social messaging that was present in it, and they've just gotten back to making an absurd war book.
And every once in a while, it's not an absurd war book. That last issue where they're, exfilling and they get stuck in that building and everyone's taking shrapnel, that's a pretty straightforward, serious take. Now, not everybody in the military is going to be a ninja and be using swords and stuff, but for the most part, it wasn't anything absurd. That was a pretty serious book.
Yes, it was. Look, it's back to taking the product seriously, but at the same time, it's the obviously younger audience book. It's still not a child's book because the original G.I. Joe comic wasn't a kid's book. It was the 12-year-old version. You know, if the 8-year-olds were watching the cartoons, the 10-year-olds and the 12 to 14-year-olds were reading the fucking comic. And now the 40-year-olds are reading the Williamson G.I. Joe book, but this is back to being the 12 to 14-year-old G.I. Joe comic that it should have been the entire time, with all the crazy shit in the fucking Cobra Island and a self-aware AI that has that's turning everyone, like thousands of people, into sleeper agents and drones for them. Like, that is an actual, it's crazy sci-fi action military insurgency plot. Yes. So what a fucking terrorist organization would try to do if they could.
Yeah. So you think it's all about Skybound for you right now?
It really is. I mean, you get over to Battle Beast. I love that they've gone back and finally started exploring the Invincible universe again. They kind of, after the book got canceled a number of years ago, they really didn't touch it until it started it's got optioned for Amazon. And now we're in season 4 of the show. It's fucking good. And they're really digging into more, and I want even more Invincible Universe stuff.
It was awesome. They got Otley to come back, dude. He belonged there and not at Marvel.
I know.
Just did never fit in there for some reason.
No, he didn't. I mean, he was fine. He was a good artist on ASM. I liked him on ASM, but the problem is they saddled him with a shitty story. I would be so unbelievably fucking happy if in the next year I got a solicit for Invincible number 145. No new number 1, go to issue 145. I think
that's what they're doing with Capes. They're picking up right where it stopped with the first series.
Yeah. That's what, like, real comics do. And I think it would really work. I think this is telling the audience it's back.
And that's what they did with that's what they did with Real American Hero. They didn't start over and say it's Real American Hero Volume 2. They just said, nope, there's a hiatus and we're starting right back up.
Yeah, Josh Blaylock tried that with G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero, Volume 2 at Devil's Due. The ones with the J. Scott Campbell covers, those are G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero. They're not the same series.
Yeah.
This is the continuation. But I feel like that would send the message that because you that used to be the selling point, because you demanded it. Yeah, that was a tagline that Marvel used all the time to show we're giving you the thing you were asking for and demanding. And we listen, we hear you, and we're going to do it.
All right, dude. So this is not only the hot show, and I'm glad that you went on almost the entire segment talking about everything that you love, because there's so much cool stuff going on right now. And I'm glad you found G.I. Joe. What's some of the knots for you? What is not working in the first quarter of 2026 thus far? All
of X-Men. All of X. I would say Marvel in totality. The relaunch, the variant schemes, the everything that's actually good. I mean, look, I understand if you want to go to a model where if it's not performing, it gets canceled. That's fine. The problem is you have to apply it to your fucking DEI books and not just Spider-Man and Wolverine or Weapon X-Men, the books that are actually good but aren't getting sales. I'm not going to. I could be disappointed that Weapon X-Men got canceled. I could be disappointed that Spider-Man
and Spider-Man
canceled. Yeah. I could be very disappointed at those. But if you're saying that they didn't sell, all right, cool. Give me that same fucking metric on everything. Dan Slott, all of the whatever replacement for Vita Ayala you have now, because I don't know, you're on like Gen 14 of clones of her with different names. Every time one of your DEI books gets fucking canceled, don't relaunch it with a new number 1 that's telling the same fucking story. You know why? Because I want Weapon X-Men Volume 3 right now with Joe Casey back on it, telling the same fucking story with a new number 1. How many times did Tinny Howard get to relaunch her fucking Captain Britain bullshit under a different title, telling the same fucking story? And how many times is Stephanie whatever generic Stephanie's on Daredevil going to get to relaunch that book when it fails? But you're going to give her some blind bags to do it with to justify the sales on number 1.
She sold more issues of Daredevil than fucking Frank Miller did
on one issue.
I also find that annoying, dude.
Yeah. Look,
so it's the whole X-Men line and just Marvel in general just is not working for you today.
Marvel's publishing strategy, the pricing. There's absolutely, I'm not buying your $5, $6, $7 books. Period. $3.99.
The solicitations for Marvel Comics, and I think they maybe had like 8 $4 books, in a lineup of like 65.
Yeah. The only book that I'm spending more than $3.99 on right now, the only 2 are ASM and X-Men of Apocalypse.
So you like an X-Men book, dude?
I like one book that comes out like quarterly.
It is delayed. The Simone DeMeo art is sick, though.
It's really, really good. The Jeff Loeb storytelling's a little nonsensical.
Kind of confusing.
And I've literally forgotten what happened in the previous issue by the time I get the next one.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it's fine. ASM, I'm almost done with.
You haven't made it to the Death Spiral stuff, have you?
They're sitting on my stack to be read. I just can't bring myself to give a shit.
The 2 Ed McGuinness issues have been pretty decent, but the Jesus Saya's ASM issue that was Death Spiral was really bad. So we'll see if you can make it.
But look, I mean, if Skybound could give me a book as good as G.I. Joe, Real American Hero, and Battle Beast, all at $3.99, Marvel, you fucking can too.
That's true.
You're just not.
So there you go. Doc says the Skybound almost everything is a hot, and basically Marvel's the not.
Yeah. That's really what it comes down to.
Next up, we've got Mr. Positivity here on Thinking Critical to talk about the hot or not comic books of the first quarter of 2026. Sully, what's in your pull box? What are the hottest books that you are reading today?
The hottest books for 2026 for me so far, they're Marvel has definitely been dwindling in my eyes and my pull list with the ending of Ultimate Spider-Man and the Marvel Knights Punisher by Palmiotti and Panosian, which was amazing. I'm down to 1 Marvel title on my pull list, and that is Philip Kennedy Johnson's Hulk. And I'll keep that on until he's done. And I would definitely add something that he's writing because I'm a big fan of his. But besides that, Marvel just isn't doing it. I'm not even I'm not even going out of my way to read many Marvel books. Like I did today for the show. I read X-Men United #1 by Eve Ewing because I read all of the Excretional X-Men from the Fall of the Ashes era, and I'm just like, oh gosh, this is the flagship title. Really?
Oh, a flagship title. The flagship title is probably X-Men, but you're supposed to be Mr. Positivity. We're talking about the hots.
I am positive.
Infernal Hulk's been a lot of fun.
Infernal Hulk has been a lot of fun. And I found out through Twitter that Nick Klein is not doing many of the upcoming issues, so we can focus on Act 3, the Hulk War. And so I'm like, my big draw is the drawing, and I love that Nick Klein art. And but hey, Kev Walker's been doing a really decent job as well with those Bruce and Betty scenes.
Yeah, as much as I really enjoy the series, I can't take the Marvel thing. And I know we're supposed to be positive right now.
We are
where
positive.
They stop there, and then they restart the exact same story, but with the new number 1. And they're going to end up doing that 4 times with this Hulk run. With Incredible Hulk, Infernal Hulk, there's going to be a mini series. It's 4 issues before you get to Hulk War. And I think they're doing Phil Kennedy Johnson in a pretty darn good Hulk run. Yes. No favors whatsoever.
Well, I think we're being positive. We're positively set that Marvel is like not bringing the heat like it should, but still it's true. Like, this is true. I mean, over the past 3 years, I've been, blessed and grateful to have read an abundance of Marvel comics, you know what I mean? As part of being in this reviewer culture. And I've kind of like stepped back from the Marvel stuff. Like, I'm not reading 10 to 20 books a week anymore. And I'm kind of grateful for it in a way, because I'm like, it was like getting a bad tooth pulled. You didn't know how bad it was until you're like, oh, wow. Oh, I feel so much better now. Because I was like looking back. I went through comicgeeks.com and I was looking back for the past, quarter of the year and being like, the stinkers are all pretty much Marvel books for me. But you know what some of the good ones were? It's the ones that remain on my pull list. My hots for the beginning of 2026 have to be anything Energon Universe. Now, I'm not reading Void Rivals. I get the first issue. I got that 1 in 25 variant cover. Hopefully that like does something, but I wasn't there for, I'm not here
that
for Void
value's
Rivals.
Hot, dude.
That one's hot. Oh, good. And
no, I was just saying speculator value in general is hot right now.
Oh, okay.
Spec comics.
Ooh, cool. But I'm loving Energon Universe G.I. Joe and Transformers. I don't think I'm gonna get Mask though. I was never that much of a Mask fan. I liked it, but Mask came out in 85 and its big day was like 86. And I just turned 13 years old at the end of 85. And so that's when like my mom said, like, you're not allowed to buy toys anymore and you're not allowed to play with them anymore, really. And
so that's what you had a pack of smokes rolled up in your sleeve, and you just weren't going to do Mask.
Yeah. Well, I loved Mask though. I loved the design of them. I loved how they had 2 modes, sometimes 3 modes. I didn't like the scale though. They are a little runty because they were kind of like, they were a misfit with everything else. But I felt like the Mask itself was such a cool kind of power set and weapon, along with the special vehicles. I my favorite one was that the Kawasaki Ninja, the yellow, rice rocket bike that turned into the helicopter.
Helicopter, yeah.
Yeah, that was cool. I really like that one a lot.
So it's Energon for you, dude.
I like it. Yeah, Energon is like is tops right now because it's fun and it's just got that. It's got that Saturday morning cartoon feeling to it, and I look forward to every issue. Like something like Energon reminds me that it's good to keep your hand in this thing of ours, to buy the serialized periodical publication and to enjoy these chapters of the story in increments, the old-fashioned way, And so I look forward to these every month, and it's just a fun time.
Elita Prime's got me a little bummed. I'm not going to be on, or I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think Transformers has been as good under Kirkman as it was before.
Right. I mean, Daniel Warren Johnson, God bless his soul, but he did a really good job for 24 issues. And I get you. It got a little girl bossy. It did. And yet I think it's just a story beat. And by the end of it, in 6 to 12 issues, I think you're going to have to put the toys back where they belong, unless you go for Rodimus Prime, you go for Galvatron, and
all the stuff that destroyed Transformers the first time.
Yeah, exactly. like who will be Cyclonus? Will it be Skywarp again? It was like I love Cyclonus. I mean, and I had aged out of Transformers by the movie as well. I was 13 when the movie came out, going on 14, but still I'm such a huge Transformers fan that like we went opening day, and yeah, I mean, I would love to see the introduction of Galvatron, or if like do it like the British, like the British Transformers were different than the Marvel Transformers in the 80s. And so Galvatron was like a really unique character, separate of Megatron. And he was very crazy. Like he had like bad mental health. And it was one of the funnier things. And some of that came across too in the Sunbow TV show, the cartoon.
Very cool. Anything else that's hot for you? You enjoying any other small imprints or maybe some DC stuff?
Yeah, I made a numbered list.
I knew it.
Wait, exactly. I like lists. I made lists. So my hots for 2026, it's I really liked Ultimate Black Panther. That for me was the pinnacle of the Ultimate imprint, and it was 24 issues of solid superhero storytelling. It had intrigue. It had action. Every issue had fight scenes in action and led to something else. You know, I'm surprised we all haven't really talked about Ultimate Spider-Man yet, but it was like I got all 24 issues of that. And I think overall I gave that a 7.5, and I would have given it an extra point, an 8.5, if there was only more Spider-Man action in there. We all have the same gripe with it. So for me, the winner of the Ultimate imprint, this new Ultimate, it's got to be Black Panther. And I feel like everyone was sleeping on this. And I hope that people come back to it, because that's the best thing about this thing of ours. It's brand new if you haven't read it yet. What else? Oh, yeah. The Adventures of Superman, the Book of L by Philip Kennedy Johnson. The next issue comes out tomorrow. I'm looking forward to, or this week rather, I'm looking forward to that a lot. This is Philip Kennedy Johnson's last DC project for at least a couple of years until his exclusive contract with Marvel runs out. So I'm really enjoying this, and it's a really good story, and it's over the top, and it's downright mythical. I really enjoy that, like the way that Kennedy Johnson pulls that all together. Sacrificers by Rick Remender and crew over at Image, consistently one of the best comics every month. New issue comes out this week as well.
I think that might be the final issue.
Really? Ooh, I'll have to look that up. You might be right. What wrapped up earlier this year, so it still counts in 2026, is Mark Miller's Nemesis Forever. That was a wild ride. Great ending, and leaves a cliffhanger to like potentially more in the future. So I'm all about that. We already covered Energon Universe, G.I. Joe, A Real American Hero, Larry Hama continuing this 43-year-old story. I mean, that's consistency. I think he didn't write, I think, less than 10 issues in the entire 325 issue stretch, including, annuals or battles, orders of battle, stuff like that. I had never really read any of the IDW stuff, issues 155 through 300, and I am going to get the Skybound box set. It's $300, and I got the Cobra one for the original Marvel reprints, so I'm gonna get the Blue Joe one for the IDW ones, and I'm gonna have the complete run of A Real American Hero. That thrills me. I love that.
That's some real cheddar, dude.
Dude, I know, but I don't have kids. I have to satisfy my inner kid. But seriously, I mean, I make a big geeky purchase once or twice a year, and this year it's going to be my G.I. Joe Volume 2 box set compendium and my picture with the Hobbits. I'm getting a picture with all 4 Hobbits: Elijah Wood, Dominic, Gleason, not Dominic Gleason, Monaghan, and because I'm a big Lost fan. So I'm gonna Dom, can you stand next to me, please? Sorry, Elijah.
Song,
dude,
wouldn't shut up for like 2 seasons.
You all, everybody. I'm gonna sing to him that Lost song.
Yeah.
I'm gonna write on my hand and not Penny's boat. I love that dumb show. And whatever. Let's see. Oh, Jeremy Adams on his DC books and his Flash Gordon book, but specifically Aquaman, now Emperor Aquaman, and his Green Lantern. These are just fun superhero books done the right way. We always say, where are the books that are made for us? And we're blessed and grateful that Jeremy Adams and like Josh Williamson too, over on Superman, provide these really good DC superhero comic books. You know who else is doing a good job too? I got to say, separate the art from the artist. It's got to be Mark Waid. I'm not going to buy his stuff, but every time I read his modern DC stuff, I'm always impressed. The guy's really good at his job. He just like, too bad everything else kind of diminishes that, in my opinion, and makes it difficult for me to support his work. Yet, I gotta say, like I think that World's Finest is a great comic. His Justice League Unlimited's really fun, and so between Wade, Williamson, and Jeremy Adams, I think that DC Comics have their stuff together more than Marvel does when it comes to shepherding and caring about their superheroes as superhero stories. So give the people what they want, and this is what we want: decent, good, reliable superhero stories. You don't have to reinvent the wheel, and everything doesn't have to be some kind of personal polemics. It's refreshing. And the one comic from 2026 that is just amazing, that I'm going to end the list on, is Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees, Rites of Spring, issues 1 through 6. It just wrapped up. It is an amazing little book that Nicholas Horvath writes it. He draws it.
That is Patrick Horvath.
Patrick, yeah, thank you. Sorry, thank you. I'm good for that at least once a show.
My memory is foggy, but I don't think David.
Thank you. No, I'm good for that. I bobble it like once. I'm like Drake May. I hold on to the ball so much that, of course, I'm going to fumble it once a game at least. But yeah, it was a good book. I really love the first one. I give that book to people that I want to turn comics. I want to turn you onto a comic. What's the comic that you're going to give to somebody? Is it going to be Watchmen? Is it going to be Dark Knight? Is it going to be a Spider-Man book? Me, I've been giving out under the Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees, because it's got everything. It's so disarming because of the art style. It looks like the old Richard Scarry children's books, and then it adds this dimension of Showtime's Dexter, of like the serial killer who's hiding in plain sight. And it is really gruesome too. I love like the anatomy to it too, and the creativity behind Samantha Strong's, weird fetish of of dismembering the poor little ducks and everything. Oh my gosh! But it's so interesting, and this was a really good continuation. And I like the cliffhanger kind of ending too. So yeah. So those are my hots for 2026 so far. We're 1 quarter away in the year.
So, me personally, I don't love change. We're getting a new Green Lantern. Kyle Rayner's taking over for Hal Jordan. Superman is stepping aside for Superboy Prime. Aquaman's going intergalactic. What do you feel about this next level initiatives? Not just with the new books, but the new changes that they're adding at DC Comics. Are you all for this stuff? I actually put the Fury of Firestorm on my poll list already, and we haven't seen issue 1 yet, so that's coming out shortly. I'm a huge Firestorm fan. I want to support this, and I want to see where it's going. I usually like Jeff Lemire's stuff. I like his stuff better when he does his own artwork, or when he's paired with Dustin Nguyen, because I think Dustin Nguyen is a really good battery partner with Jeff Lemire. So I like Sorrentino personally.
Okay. Yeah, I haven't been impressed with JSA, which is funny because I'm a huge JSA fan, and I just felt a little bit like that whole issue 1 reboot thing. We just got off this amazing Jeff Johns run where he was setting up the Young Justice Society that really that failed to germinate in the ground, that failed to grow wheat, and I was a little disappointed with that because I would have been into something such as Young Justice Society and seeing the teen sidekicks like the Teen Titans, but for the JSA, that would have been wicked cool. So maybe they can come back to that. Hopefully someone like Jeremy Adams can do something like that.
I can't believe we did this whole hot thing. I threw you a softball and you never extolled the virtues of Superboy Prime.
Good thing we can come full circle. I love that first issue there, issue 36, and everything that led up to that. And I've been hearing a lot of things on Twitter X like, oh, Superboy Prime doesn't deserve redemption. And it's just, you never know where he's going to go with in this story. He could fail. But that's part of the fun of this thing.
He kicked Crypto, man.
He kicked Crypto. Crypto
You can forgive a dog kicker?
No, not really. Well, yeah. Got me there. You can take off Wildebeest's head. But if we're kicking Crypto, that's, yeah.
A little too far. No, I like what Williamson's doing. I'm more excited, potentially in the future, because Superman's going to come back. But we got that Legion of Superheroes book, and I'm assuming that it's going to be Superboy Prime, like in that Superman role with Legion of Superheroes, which I think would be really exciting.
That would be exciting too, and especially if the Omega Legion is still out there, as like in the future, and if it's about maybe it's Superboy Prime's role to maybe redeem them.
Dude, when he shit kicked Lightning Lad and was about to murder him in front of Saturn Girl,
yeah,
that was good.
It was awesome. He's like, "You're lucky I'm not that guy anymore." And like, hey, that's growing up, and maybe that's exactly what Superboy Prime's doing here. He's got to grow up just a little bit. And but I'm all in for this next level.
So normally you are the Prince of Positivity, but you can be the negative Nancy of the channel as well. What are your nuts? Do you have anything that's really stood out that just isn't hitting? Just, you already said Marvel, but
a couple of Marvel things specifically, like Joshua Williamson usually does a very good job. I am not sold on Iron Man. I picked up issue 1.
Kind of just there.
Yeah, it's kind of boring. I mean, it's like, oh boy, here's another movie version of Tony Stark. It's kind of paint by numbers. I'm really not into it. And the proof of the pudding's on the plate. I'm not spending my money on it. I would be, because I'm a big Joshua Williamson fan, and I don't think it has it. So I dropped it. One of the huge disappointments for me personally, a huge nut, is Marvel Star Wars in total. I mean, it is the new volume of Marvel Star Wars telling stories between Return of the Jedi and Force Awakens. So it's going to have to deal with the Imperial remnants and the rise of the First Order, which is all Mon Mothma's fault, because she wanted to demilitarize the New Republic and get rid of the Navy and the standing army. It is all her fault. It really is.
I like Mon Mothma. They should be painting her like that. They made her pretty cool in the Andor.
In the Andor, yeah. But it's I mean, if we look at it, it's like, look at the new canon. She's left with the blame. It's all, the blood is on her hands. It's all her fault to demilitarize and to get rid of the standing Navy. I mean, that was just huge tactical error. And I know that in the new continuity, that's something that Leia really objected to. She was
yeah, there's just not much there for Star Wars. Every once in a while, there's like a Boba Fett.
The Boba Fett black, white, and red,
white and really good. Whatever it is.
Yeah,
and there's some issues in there that are worth reading. Those are the best things, but it's not very consistent.
But then you get something like Han Solo: The Quest for the Falcon, one of the most unneeded, unnecessary books I've ever read in my life. Now, I'm not one of these people that like, oh, who is this made for? Who is this made for? Nobody asked for this. Nobody asked for Jaws either. I mean, we don't know what we want until it's offered to us. Nobody asked for Project Hail Mary. You know what I mean? And then I've seen it twice already. Look, I got the popcorn bucket. It came with a mission patch. I'm so psyched. I got a mission patch for the Hail Mary. Ain't that cool?
You should definitely sew that onto a bomber jacket.
I'm thinking about it totally. My girlfriend was like, "Are you going to put that on your coat?" And I'm like, "I might." She's like, "You should." You know what I mean? I'm like, "Oh, she supports my geekiness. I like that." And as a normie, she really enjoyed the movie and the story, and of course, Rocky. And but I mean, yeah, we don't know what we want until we're actually offered it. So, but when it comes to Han Solo,
there's no story to tell with Han and the Falcon. We know when he gets it, it's in Force Awakens,
and it doesn't.
The story's already told.
I even read that last issue just to see because I was thinking, does this end where Chewie were home? It doesn't even end on that note to dovetail it into the Force Awakens. It ends with Han talking to Lando and saying, "Oh, I know I'll find her someday." But it's like this entire
burger.
It was like a nothing burger, an old man, longing for his golden year, longing for his heroic days, and it's just like I don't get. I love Han Solo and the old expanded universe, old Legends with that General Solo. That's we have a good Han Solo. Thank you. This isn't it. But yeah, overall, Marvel Star Wars is a huge not. And what else did they give us? Jar Jar. I don't mind Jar Jar. I'll put, I really don't.
There's a lot of Jar Jar speak. Lots of Misa bullshit in there.
No, sir. He's demanded by the gods.
Yeah.
Oh, but yeah, I mean, there's a lot of poodoo when it comes to Marvel Star Wars, and that's a big disappointment. And actually, a big not for me is Uncanny, not just Uncanny X-Men. And I don't want to punch down on Gail Simone because I do like Birds of Prey, and I did like Sinister Six. I mean, she's capable of doing good work.
I don't think that you can punch down on Gail Simone. She's like a published writer. She had her own website, and she's had best-selling comic books. You have a cooking and comic book channel,
right? Well, exactly. But it's more of like
you're not Scott Snyder. That would be punching down.
That's true. But I mean, I'm not finding Uncanny to be a really good. This is not a good direction for the X-Men. Once again, like, who is this made for? But it's like, exactly. I mean, who wants to buy this stuff? I don't want to spend my money. Book. It's a terrible book. Then I just
the worst dialogue I've ever read consistently in one series.
Ground Bear. Yeah. Oh gosh. And then I just read from a couple of weeks ago, just to catch up, was X-Men United #1 by Eve Ewing, and it's just like, again, like with the. It's just, at least it tries a bit. Now, Eve Ewing, I feel, did a really interesting, decent job when she was writing Black Panther about almost close to 3 years ago. And I kind of enjoyed that. So I'm like, okay, I know that Eve can write something pretty decent. But it's, this is, at least this one was a little better than her exceptional X-Men run in the From the Ashes era. But it just still doesn't got it yet. You know what I mean? I'm just like, it's a mess. It's all over the place. I did like Cyclops being like, forget about this stuff. I'm out of here.
But he's the villain. You're not supposed to like Cyclops.
He's not supposed to like him. Oh,
he's the only one that made a lick of sense in the book.
Mm-hmm. I kind of like the kids, the school uniforms too. The black with the yellow X on it. It's a nice design. I kind of like that. It was reminiscent of the old X Factor, togs without the different colors for, but besides that, it's just, hey, here's our danger room. You know what I mean? It's not really a danger room. It's a mental space called Gray Matter Lane. That's cute. Oh, that's punny. Yay. Yeah. and then and Kitty being some kind of like, Kitty should change her name to Karen. Maybe it's Karen Pride. Yeah. Shadow Cat box.
So there's Sully. He says Energon is a definite hot for him. Anything PKJ. Jeremy Adams is a hot. Beneath the trees where nobody sees. A few other books in there, but everything almost Marvel except for Infernal Hulk to him. And especially Star Wars, and it sounds like X-Men are nuts right now.
Amazing Spider-Man lost me, and I was trying to, at least, give that a solid, decent chance, especially with the John Romita art and Pepe Larraz too. I mean, and then you got Ed McGuinness doing pickup stuff, so that you have formidable, talent behind this. But it's kind of boring, and I haven't even touched Death Spiral yet. And should I? I don't think I should. I think I should stay far away from that. Have you been pleased with it?
No, it's bad.
Exactly. Like, even killing Paul won't work. He's not really going to die.
Next up on the Hot or Not podcast, we have our good friend, 32 Flavors of Nickweiser, right from Chicago, home of the deep dish pizza. How you doing, Nick?
Doing pretty good, Wes. I haven't had deep dish in about a year, but I actually do crave a slice right about now. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. I want to hear from you. What are your hottest books of the first quarter of 2026. We're almost we're 3 months into the year. What's working right now for you?
So I will say the last 3 issues, because I haven't read the newest one, but the last 3 issues of Void Rivals have been absolutely badass. So I've been enjoying this series like on a solid to great momentum swing throughout the run. But these last 3 issues with this Quintessence War story have really escalated this whole ongoing thing between Zertonia and Agoria and Durak and Salila. I don't know if I'm pronouncing those characters' names, but if I said it wrong, I'm sorry, Robert Kirkman. But basically, it feels like everything's kind of like led up to this point, and it's made me like kind of want to reread all the other issues now 1 through 24 in retrospect, see if I'll have a new sense of appreciation. Now, funny enough, this art style from Andrei Bresson, I wasn't really wild about it in Destro, and I don't know if once again I just got used to his style or he got better, but I'm really enjoying his art in this particular arc of Void Rivals. It fits the story. I'd actually make the argument he's the best of the 3 artists they have had. One is Lorenzo Di Felici. They had another guy after I forgot his name, and now we got this guy. And I'm really loving it. It just feels like we're getting the smash down, bang 'em up thriller. Like everything's happening. All the dominoes are coming undone. It just feels like everything has kind of like led up to this point. And of course, you got the great banter too with the living gloves, hand droids. Love hand droid. And it seems like Derek, once again, don't know if I'm saying his name right.
I think it's Derek.
Seems a lot more operable in this particular arc as well. It doesn't feel like he's just being there as a second fiddle. It seems like now it's kind of like an equal thing, which hey, I'm cool with that. I'm loving this.
I'm shocked that you brought up Void Rivals. It's like the forgotten Energon book. People forget that that's the book that started the Energon universe. It wasn't Transformers. It wasn't the Duke miniseries.
Nope.
Void Rivals came out first, and they got the last page reveal. And I've been reading it. I think the first 12 issues. I haven't read it for like a year because I just kind of slowly fell off of that one. I was getting more invested in G.I. Joe and Transformers, and sure, there are Transformers in Void Rivals, or they were, but it didn't feel like they were wholly related, so I kind of fell off of it. And I'm glad that you're writing. Have I made an enormous mistake not keeping up with the Void Rivals?
I would say, yeah, you have, because you'll get some connections to the Transformer stuff, and there's even a Joe connection as well. I won't say what, but it's not a thing that becomes too reliant on. If anything, it feels more like an asset to the story, not something to just really heavily rely on. And I think that's actually to its benefit, that it shows that those things are there and it relies on it when necessary, but doesn't become to the point where it doesn't know how to operate without the Joe and the Transform elements. Because I want Void Rivals to stand on its own 2 feet. I want to have believable 3-dimensional characters that I can get invested without having to invest in the art characters in order to get into. So when you have those moments with a Joe thing or a Transformer thing, it feels special and it feels well earned at that moment. But I would suggest keep going, because Lorenzo did 1 through 18 and then 19 through 24. I can't believe I forgot his name. He did the second art, which his style was good too. But this guy, Andrei, he is just absolutely crushing it with this particular style. Once again, I'm having a fun time reading this, and I can't wait to finally dig my hands into issue 28, which came out last week, because this book has hit a lot of peaks in this particular. It feels like definitely like everything has led to this type of moment.
So are you doing all the Energon stuff, or you're doing G.I. Joe? I know that you're reading Transformers and Void Rivals.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, I'm
Very
still
nice.
kind of like jury's out now after what happened in Transformers number 30, because I was actually one of the people who had no problems issue 25 through 29. I know some people talk about how the story's a bit slower. I had no problem with it. I thought, Robert Kirkman, he's still having events play out from the previous run, and he's just kind of building things back up. So I was fine with that. It was nice to be able to have a moment to breathe, and that way when the hits come, they're going to hit that much harder. So I was okay with that, and we were getting that up to 29 with constant Dan Mora art that was looking fantastic, and then number 30 happened. I was like, ooh.
So Transformers 30 is it not for you?
one of the biggest knots, and I'm aware one of my buddies out there in this sphere, Ironcaster, he told me Transformers, Optimus has given up the Prime title before, and it's not they gave up the title bugged me, but the fact they gave it to Alita and how he and she went about it, that really rubbed me the wrong way per se.
I'm with you. I think she's been a heinous character, and she hasn't been heroic at all. She's been deceiving people. She basically tried to kill Cliffjumper.
Yeah.
Why would the Matrix of Leadership even choose this character? It made no sense to me.
It felt like we were giving, you might as well just give the title to Megatron at that point, because she was acting like a villain. At least the stuff with the RC and the Magna stuff, to me, that made more sense. Now, it's not the direction I would have gone, but was there a smooth transition to the point where I could buy it? Yes, absolutely. And I'd still roll that in the book to this day. But the Alita stuff was sudden, abrupt, and for a character who's absolutely acting villainous, like, I get why she wants to handle her situation. Okay, fine. But acting like a villain over it, that was like, that's where you lost me, bro. We all know Transformers is going to eventually have Optimus go back to the Prime title, but I'm tired of yet another signature character that needs to be depowered for the 900 millionth time. We've seen it enough with Superman, and now we're getting with Optimus Prime. When can we just write these characters as they are?
Dude, I think it also affected G.I. Joe, is it 20? The first meeting of Optimus and Duke?
It did. Which the meeting was done well in that issue, but still.
But it was so much less exciting. I was just kind of like, I don't know, I was just kind of numb when it was happening.
It was a cool conversation to have them be talking, but it definitely made me feel uneasy saying the face of Optimus Prime, because I'm only going to address him as such. And him talking to Duke, knowing, oh yeah, I no longer carry the title Prime. Alita has it. I was just like, ugh, great. And it's one of those things where I probably sadly would feel more easier about it if I just didn't read Transformers number 3, but I would have never had the foresight of knowing about Transformers 3 unless I did read. So, a little bit of a double-edged sword there. But no, that all said, bringing it back to Void Rivals, it's awesome. I enjoyed it. Once again, I said it was a solid to great series, but this last 3 issues have been a freaking banger of a story. And once again, it stands well on its own 2 feet to me, as it should. But when it utilizes the greater Energon Universe elements, it's more there to benefit the story, not become reliant on it.
So what are your thoughts on Mask? That's the next Energon. Obviously, it hasn't come out yet, but it's been announced. That's the next Energon book. We've seen Matt Tracker. We've seen the villains out there and stuff like that. Are you excited for Mask? Are you going to add it to the pull?
I'll give it a look. I'm still concerned on that one because I'm aware of Dan Waters' track record. I read Destro. I thought it was okay. It wasn't even bad.
It was mid.
It was just there. It didn't hurt anything, but didn't really benefit either. It was kind of like a story of indifference. And that's unfortunate because Destro has been very important to the G.I. Joe Energon Universe story. This character has mattered to the story. So why that story was there, it was like, if you're going to do a miniseries, which I actually thought in theory was a good idea, I was like, okay, yeah, I want this. But then you give us that. It wasn't polarizingly bad, let's just say like Scarlet was. But it was just didn't do anything. But that said, Brandon Thomas, I might give the number 1 a look. I'm not familiar with the artist. I'm aware of yet another unnecessary race swap change, which kind of gets me like, oh, great. Is this where the other shoe is going to start to drop now after 3 years of enjoying these comics? Is this the beginning of where it changes? We'll see. Maybe I'm just looking too into it. I hope I am, but just note that I have been fooled before, and I'm not someone who lets things drag out before it gets better. So if this book starts to really creep in with things that I don't need, I'm going to have no problem backing away. So I really hope I don't have to do this because I want to enjoy my time on the planet reading comics, not suffer through them.
So what are some of the other hotness books out there? What's the other, like, do you have one of those, what are they called, a parking lot book? When you get to the parking lot, you have to read it before you can start your car because you're that excited?
Oh, yeah. I mean, obviously, this is going to be a very obvious one, but Conan the Barbarian has been absolutely awesome. And I know that's been sung about for over 2 years. I know on this channel, so I'm just echoing what a lot of our people saying. But for me, what makes it even more noteworthy now compared to the previous 2 years was the last story arc. So it was just 26 through 28. If you want to speak in trade speak, 25 through 20, because 25 had the larger painted issue solely done by Alex Forley,
art,
which is a cool like story, one and done. And then 26 through 28 was my favorite story of the entire run so far. The fact that we have Conan going into mercenary, into his way into becoming king, was absolutely stellar. The dialogue's a bit heavier, which for me, I don't care. As long as I'm engaged, I'm not bugged with that. And yet Fernando Dagnino, I think his name is, on the art for these 3 issues. And his stuff is so freaking good. I could spend time just looking at his art in these issues, even if I'm not just like engaging in the story, just the art alone. And of course, you got all the greatest hits you would expect from a Conan story: the violence, the cool locations, the women. You got all the greatest hits assembled, but with its own original story. And how it ends was absolutely awesome, which is even foreshadowing on the main cover of cover A of number 28. It's still cool to actually see the moment happen. So it still feels like, even though you see it coming, it's when it actually happens, it feels so much cooler. I love this.
Yeah, when he grabs the crown and announces himself King of Aquilonia, I was like, that's pretty dope.
Oh, dude. I was like, I wanted to stand up and cheer like, and all those like 80s movies, those medieval movies, those movies on knights. I wanted to do the same as him. Just, I was so happy to see that moment because, we've been kind of getting hints and drops from Jim Zub throughout the years, and like, hey, we're eventually going to build to the King Conan part of the timeline. And now we finally got to a major piece of it. And it was very well earned. I love this story. And once again, in my opinion, these last 3-4 issues of that particular run of the book are great. And I just read 29. I need to read number 3. We got Doug Braithwaite back on art, and he has just been getting better as the story has gone on. He has been absolutely getting better, but I can't wait to see where he brings the Conan story going forward. Or who knows, maybe it's even backward, considering that we bounce around with the timeline a lot. But Conan, if you're somehow not reading it after 2 years, what the hell are you doing with your life? Don't you enjoy fun? Don't you enjoy badassery?
That issue 29 is a bit of a weird one because there's almost no Conan in the book. He only really shows up in the last page, and it's not really him. It's like a vision in a fire. But we get introduced to the Son of the Tooth, which is a new villain. He's kind of like based on like a Mongol type of character, which I thought was pretty cool. And then this last issue, which you haven't read yet, which you definitely should, gets their first confrontation between the two.
I really like number 29. I thought, wow, holy crap, we went a whole issue without the Cimmerian here. I can't believe we finally got
Cimmerian.
Cimmerian, from Andre. Hold on, I got it from Andre from Midnight's Edge. You look into the context of that later. The Cimmerian, not the Cimmerian, the Cimmerian. That's a whole other piece of lore later. Maybe I'll
Chimera is like a merging of 2 biological species or something, right?
Well, you mean the Chimera, Chimaira? we could do this dance all day. But anyways, number 29, I thought was really cool because we were building as once again, it was an exposition heavier issue, which is not as standard as what we usually get out of these key Conan stories. But I thought it was a great buildup. It was showing you what we were getting for this run. And the fact that it all centered around the villain and not Conan, I thought, wow, it took us 29 issues to get this point, and we finally did it. It kind of was like, okay, cool. Now I can't wait to have Conan back for an issue. It was awesome. I thought it was a really killer issue. It's different. And obviously, if I had to say like which number one is better between number 26 and 29 of the stories, I'm going to lean more towards 26. But knowing where we're going 29, I have a feeling 30 is going to be even better. And once again, even at its worst days, which is weird to say worst, Conan the Barbarian is still a cream of the crop macho man style type of book. You should be reading it if you love comics, and especially if you love Robert E. Howard, Conan, or just need something in your life that you're sick of from Marvel or DC, and you want to try something else per se. And of course, that look of Son of the Tooth at the end. Who would have thought such a small looking figure would look so creepy? But I guess here we are.
Anything else standing out for you in the first quarter of 2026 that you just absolutely love reading right now?
Oh, let me think. Obviously, the standards would be, obviously, I'm Emperor Aquaman as killer. I'm enjoying Battle Beast as well, even though it just came back. I was rereading the first arc, but I'm looking forward to more from Lobo. I know you had mixed thoughts on it with issue 1. I actually really enjoyed issue 1. I love
the art. I thought the art was impeccable.
Oh, the Jorge Corona art was awesome. I thought it was cool to get me up to speed. It felt like I was getting the download set up for we're going to get you up to speed with issue 1 with a little hint of violence. And then issues 2 through onward is we're going to really rev the engine on the fun and the badassery. And I like the acknowledgement or lack thereof with the new 52 thing. I thought that was a funny way of acknowledging that. Yeah, that we don't talk about that. So I was like, that's actually great for me. I thought that was hilarious. So I was here for it, Wes. I truly was. And I'm also enjoying Geiger still from the Ghost Machine universe, from the Unnamed section in particular, because Ghost Machine is broken up into separate universes. And in the Unnamed, you have Geiger, you have Redcoat. Geiger just has been this book that started as a slow burn on repeat to now it's just become a must read. Obviously, even when it's not Gary Frank drawing it, whether it's Eduardo Panisca, they're all great artists, and the story is equally engaging. Even support characters are great too, whether it's the zebra, his best buddy, and the knight in shining armor. He's got a great support cast, and the payoffs and the reveals have been great. And usually stories that operate this slow usually kind of wear me thin, and I'm a 3 strikes you're out baseball style. But this story has been the exception to my rule with Geiger. I really enjoy it. It's a shame we don't have Rook Exodus to talk about alongside with this, because we were supposed to get issue 10 early this month, and then it got moved all the way to May. And that's unfortunate, because I remember liking issue number 9 a lot, where we last left off with it, Wes.
I'm with you, dude. It's an enormous disappointment on my part, because I just love Rook Exodus, and I know Jason Fabok is an amazing artist. It's disappointing it's getting delayed again. You were liking Green Lantern, right?
I was, but I've not read enough issues to really put in a strong, hey, read the hell out of this. I read a few issues, and I enjoyed what I read. I think I read number 16 through 18, or was it 17 through 19? There's a particular story arc I read there from Jeremy Adams. I loved it. I thought it was awesome, and it was fun. But I had been reading all of Aquaman. Aquaman's been great, and I know he's retitled it to Emperor Aquaman, which definitely makes.
I was just bringing it up because Kyle Rayner's the new Green Lantern now.
Oh yeah, I'm well aware of Kyle Rayner being back. Oh, I'm very well aware. I didn't read issue 600, but I've heard that it's shockingly good, even though people were kind of mixed feelings of Kyle Rayner coming back going into the story. Did it feel earned to you, Wes?
Yeah, it was. I mean, I don't know if it was earned, but it was a successful baton passing in my book. I thought it was a good-looking book. You get the origin of Kyle. You get to see the new status quo. They get a defeated enemy. You get an awesome Dan Jurgens illustrated origin of Hal. It was a beautiful book.
Okay,
I loved it.
Okay. No,
but you're like an Emperor Aquaman. Kind of a weird change that he's no longer, responsible for the water on Earth. Now he's responsible for anything in the water, like in the galaxy.
Oh yeah, it's absolutely heavy, like Back to the Future heavy. But I love it. I really like where we're going here. And I like that it feels like in the last few issues, we've been a bit more centered on Arthur Curry. Because if there's one constructive criticism I've had throughout this run, which I have been enjoying from issue 1 onward, my one minor criticism is I feel like we get a little bit too much of the supporting cast. I want more focus on Arthur. And I understood it for like the KO stuff. He was distracted. You're playing continuity. I can forgive for that, but I don't need every story to be a team up story. And it feels like these last few issues have been a bit more Arthur centric. And I'm loving that, because I want to have time to, be with Arthur. I want to see what he's going on with him. And I don't need to have his friends around for every single thing that he does. So
I don't know, man. I like Titanus, man. A hammerhead shark that talks.
I like it too. I do too. But it's kind of like when you're enjoying Spider-Man, but you now can't have Spider-Man without Spider-Woman and Miles Morales there. It's one of those things where it's like, I like Jessica Drew. I think she's great, but I don't need her hanging around every story. And that's not literally happening. But obviously, Miles Morales, they'd love to shove him everywhere in Marvel. I'm just saying, I like my main character to be a main character in his own story. I think that should be common sense. And I like that we're having that, because we got to have some stuff where it's all about Arthur. And we can show off his supporting cast here and there, good ones or not. I want my Aquaman story at the end of the day to be an Aquaman story. The supporting characters should be just that, supporting characters. But it's so great. John Simpson's art is killer on this. Oh my goodness. This dude's on another level with this book.
Absolutely. All right. So we did talk about your negative reaction to the Transformers 30 story with Optimus no longer being Optimus Prime, and it's Alita Prime now. Is there anything else that you would throw in the not category? Maybe things that you were enjoying that have gone bad, or maybe things that you expected that you might like, and you went in to check it out, and it just ended up not being your thing?
Oh, man, that's a great question, because I haven't been reading Marvel books at all.
Smart.
So that, I've been
so avoid it altogether.
I really, dude. I wasn't reading DC up until I started reading Aquaman again. Aquaman brought me back into the fold. That's why I ended up checking out a few random issues of Green Lantern, was because of my enjoyment of Aquaman. I did try out some Absolute Wonder Woman, and while the story is intriguing, Hayden Sherman's art is not cut it for me. It was hard for me to get through, which is really weird, because if I had to give a good, genuine compliment to him, his layouts are really
amazing.
His layouts are
phenomenal,
really good. And then it's like it'd be nice if he did like the layouts, and then someone else did the finishes. Now I've heard that the story stays good, and maybe it is, but man, his style was like reading a young adult story. Like, am I looking at a Twilight version of a Wonder Woman comic? I don't know, but that style was just not cutting it for me. Maybe if there's a better artist, I'd be more inclined to continue. See, that's the thing. I don't read every book, so there's not much for me to be disappointed by, which I guess is to my benefit. I don't look at everything on the sun and then be like, oh, this is bad, this is bad. I give 3 strikes, you're out. It takes you 3 issues to wow me, and then if you're in, you're in. If you're out, you're out. And I have no hesitation on that.
So how many strikes does Transformers have now after the issue 30? Are you going to keep going on?
I'm going to go on, but I'm going to now go into this one. This one is going to get a rare 2 strikes, because this is a big one, dude. This is a big one. I almost, at the day after I read it, I was like, I'm going to drop this book altogether. But now that I've had time to, I guess you could say, let the emotion out, I'm going to probably wait a few more issues just to see how they're going to treat Optimus. If I start to see the neutering of a legendary character, and he may not be my legendary character, but it's not lost to me that he's many other people's legendary character, I'm going to have to just cut out, because I'm not here to hang around just waiting for something to hopefully eventually get better, which, hey, I know a lot of my peers do that, and I respect what they do, but for me, I'm not one of those guys that sits around and does that. You better fix yourself and give me a reason to stick around, because otherwise I'll have no problem hopping off. I tried that once with Daredevil with Chip Zdarsky, which I had an open mind about, by the way, and a genuine one at that, and it ended up being 2 Daredevils. Fuck that shit.
And last but not least, we do have Mr. Aaron Sparrow here to talk about the hottest and nottest comic books of the first quarter of 2026. Aaron, according to you, what has been the hotness in the comic book industry thus far in the very early portions of the year?
Well, in the indie scene, I think there's tons of things that have been hot. Obviously, Ghost Machine is still really going strong. I think you, Dylan, Doc, and I, there's just most of the panel have been enjoying Hyde Street. Obviously, Rook Exodus, although we're approaching another hiatus, which doesn't seem to be a good idea. But, that book is still strong. We really like Redcoat. So they've really been killing it. Obviously, the Energon stuff from Skybound is doing very well. These are still going. They're getting into their second win, their second year. But man, they have not lost momentum. There's still good stories coming out. I've got friends that are getting into it now. that now that they kind of see that it's viable and it's working and that people are talking about it, they're jumping in on the trades. They're coming in on the later issues. So I expect those numbers to still stay strong. We've seen some really crazy speculation on various things that were under ordered. Dork is doing extremely well. A great hit for Brett Bean. Love to see it. Brett's a really good dude. God, what can I say about the indie scene? Rippaverse is still doing really well on the indie scene. They keep launching books. Dirty Deeds just came out. I just read that. That was a lot of fun. I think Caro is a really great writer. She's a friend of mine, but I wouldn't recommend the book if I didn't think it was good. So don't.
So what's that one about? Give us some
personal bias. If you want a space adventure, you want basically if you're looking for a Guardians of the Galaxy type story, but they really are doing some criminal stuff, and they're wanted and on the run. It's a lot of fun. I would definitely recommend that you check it out. There's some good sexy characters in there. There's some fun characters in there. It's your band of misfits type of story. But if you remember, I don't know if you remember this, Wes, or if you read this, but back in the day in DC, there was a period where they took the Legion and they turned it into Rebels, where they were kind of on the run, and Lobo was on the team, and you had Brainiac, and it kind of reminds me of that. It's that same kind of tone, that same kind of fun.
What's See It Later? Is that something that you think people should be going out and checking out?
Actually, 3 is out, and 4 is I'm working on 4 right now. So I edit that book for him. So it's going to sound really self-serving for me to say go out and check it out, but it is really a lot of fun. Russ's art is worth the price of admission alone, and then I work with him and his friend who co-writes it. I work with them to make sure, Randy Zimmerman. I make sure to.
I thought you forgot another name.
No, but it did take me a second to recall it. I had to stall. My recall is bad. I'm gonna blame lingering effects of the concussion. I used to be so good at this, or I could just be getting old. So I do editorial on that book, and they're very gracious to take my notes into account and to not go, no, you suck. We're not doing this. And so it's really a group effort on that book. And I really think that if you like Swords and Sorcery action, if you're enjoying Jim Zub's Conan right now, I think you owe it to yourself to check out The Atlantean, check out Russ's beautiful artwork, and and the kick-ass action that's going on in that. Now that makes a good segue to the other book that I think is super hot, which another one that's been going since last year, going strong, which is Jim Zub's Conan. I think you and I said that the issue 25 was one of the best books of the year. Good story and gorgeous full painted artwork. And they're going to be doing that again. And plus he's just nailing it, man. And you go to a con and Jim Zub's got a bunch of old men around his table telling him how much they love his Conan. I buy it for my dad. That's how good this book is.
So you have to go get signed copies for your dad for Conan the Barbarian?
No, my dad doesn't care about signatures or anything like that. But I do buy the trades for him and send those to him. And he likes those a lot. He also is really enjoying Jeremy Adams' Flash Gordon, which I think is another really hot indie book going on right now.
Unfortunately, the Jeremy Adams portion has come to an end, and it's about to be the Dan Abnett Flash Gordon book,
which I think is still, if you're gonna move away from Jeremy, I think Dan Abnett's a good backup there. I think it's good to keep the momentum going, and I think he'll deliver some good Flash Gordon stories. So I'm keeping my dad happy with.
When just talking about some of the books that you mentioned, you're talking about Energon Universe, which is taking something very familiar like G.I. Joe and Transformers, throwing a new coat of paint on it, changing some of the status quo and the circumstances, telling a familiar story, but altering it, greatly over time. It's very familiar, but it's clearly different than what it originally was. Conan the Barbarian, he's telling new stories for the most part. Jim Zub is within the Conan the Barbarian, Robert E. Howard universe that's been created, and we've had tons of stories in there, but they feel very, very authentic if they aren't continuations of things that haven't already occurred. And maybe they do call back some stuff, but they're very authentic to the stories and the setting, and they feel like they're in that universe. Then you go to Jeremy Adams' Flash Gordon, and it's a direct continuation of Flash Gordon stories that have already been told, and it's 3 different ways to attack something that this nostalgia kind of thing with characters that have been around for a long time. And I think it's interesting that you can do it from many different angles. But if you understand the characters, you understand the universe, you understand the audience, you can still deliver.
Yeah, no, you absolutely can. And, there are multiple ways to approach something. But I think that the common thread amongst all of that is that Jim, Jeremy, they're coming at these properties with a reverence and a respect for them. They're not coming in and saying, how do I, put a bunch of my, much like we talk about with Lord of the Rings, Peter Jackson coming in and saying, I'm not going to put my messaging in this. How can I make this a Robert E. Howard story? How can I make this, a Flash Gordon story that people recognize? That's the sort of approach that they're taking. So even though they're coming at it with different creative approaches, the core approach of what they believe and how they want to deliver it is the same. It's like Jim Zub wants that old guy who used to read the Robert E. Howard stuff and read the early Marvel comics. He wants him to pick it up, and he wants it to feel familiar. And I think that that's the important thing to have in mind whenever you tackle a property that has a long running history and a long standing fan base.
Well, certainly what we've seen, certainly all the way through 2025 and the early part of 2026 is that nostalgia still sells. And there are definitely a lot of publishers that are leaning heavily on nostalgia. You see that changing at all? Or you think we're going to get more throwbacks and more, characters and settings that we haven't seen for a while be refreshed?
Well, I think that, that there'll always be a place for that. There'll always be a place for, these nostalgic properties to come back and be introduced to new audiences and to capture the older audiences. I don't think that's going away anytime soon. But, we did talk about Ghost Machine, and those are all new properties. So there are, and the Skybound stuff is obviously nostalgia throwbacks. But, we are getting companies out there that are doing new things. Dork is a new property. People are coming in with new ideas and bringing us fresh stuff. And I think that is equally important because nostalgia can only carry you so far. And we do need fresh ideas. I mean, Hollywood needs fresh ideas desperately. And, some of those are going to end up coming from the comic book industry.
Now, I know you're a lot more tuned into the creator-owned, kind of crowdfunded scene. Are there any books out there that you've been, seeing or read that you're like, yeah, these are things that you want to pay attention to? That maybe aren't getting published on a monthly basis?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that you want to pay attention to, what Aaron Lopresti's doing out there. He's done several volumes of Wraith of God, which I think are fantastic. Now he's launched Barbaric Adventures, which looks amazing. And that's right in Aaron's wheelhouse. So I would say check that out. Obviously, we've had Rini on the show multiple times. She does Fiendish. Fiendish is an absolutely spectacular book, and her artwork is gorgeous. There's a whole little mystery going on in there that I think people will get hooked into. But even if you're just an appreciator of beautiful art, it's just she's shown off her inks on the show. They're so good. You got Von Coleman out there doing Phenomenova. That book is a lot of fun. He's pouring his heart into that. You've got Dave Brink out there doing Perfect 10. Perfect 10 has some of the coolest covers, coolest character designs. I think that book looks marvelous. I have not had the chance to read more than a couple issues of it. He does have the collection up on Kickstarter now. So, unfortunately, it's in the UK. So when I looked at it, I was like, oh, it's going to cost me like $80 to buy this trade and have it shipped to me. So I was like, oh, God, maybe I can find it at a show or something. But there's a ton of guys in the indie space that are coming out and that are doing stuff. I think, we've got Silence Do Good out there from Sean Salter, which is a time traveling Ben Franklin story. That's a lot of fun. I think that people should check that out. And then, it's like, obviously I'm doing stuff. There's all kinds of people out there. Drew's doing stuff. Drew's got Unholy Nightmare out there. Beautiful artwork by Aurelio Mazzara, character designs. He's the co-creator of the book. He actually brought those characters to Drew. It's a really good time to be in indie comics. And it's a good time to get away from the mainstream because Marvel's got 1-2 books that are worth reading. And, maybe DC has a couple, but that's it.
DC's doing much better than Marvel these days, but I know that you don't like to throw Drew a bone and you don't like to give him too many compliments. And I agree with you. There's no reason to feed the ego, but you have told me behind the scenes that there's a big twist in Unholy Nightmare that you wish you had thought of because it was that creative.
Well, there's a villain that he brings in that's public domain, but also is a villain that people will recognize from a series of 80s movies, which, the cat's out of the bag. I'll just say it because it was at the end of issue 2, but it's Dr. Herbert West, who, obviously the character in the film Reanimator, but is an old school, Cthulhu, who's the Cthulhu author? Why can't I think of his name? See, I'm having the same problem. H.P. Lovecraft. Thank you. So H.P. Lovecraft created that character and got used in the Reanimator films, and Drew brought him into Unholy Nightmare, which I thought was inspired. I didn't know that character was public domain, or I would have done it. So I highly recommend that, and the story that he's crafting with him and the other villains that Aurelio had brought in. it is a really interesting story. It's going to go to some fun places.
But I fully support your rule of not praising Drew.
You got to keep your boys in check. That's,
Exactly.
you give them just enough to keep them going, but not too much.
So we talked about some of the hotness out there, and you're enjoying a lot of the indie books, enjoying the crowdfunded space. There is some notness that we should probably mention or discuss. What are some of the books that you've had to read, maybe because you're doing comics aficionados, that otherwise you would have liked to have avoided, that have really just stood out as being something that nobody should be proud of?
Most of it's in the mainstream. Obviously the X-Men books, I think are just really bad.
It's almost unanimous. This is a final conversation that we've had, with these Hot or Not conversations. And it is striking how basically everyone agrees that X-Men is basically terrible across the board.
I think that it extra hurts because it extra hurts because we were all such big fans of the X-Men. The X-Men used to be the hottest property in comics. Everybody was reading it. It had the best stories. It had the best art. And it started to fall off, and it was slight decline. And then all of a sudden it was just a complete collapse. And I don't think it's ever recovered. I think that Krakoa was terrible. I think that this From the Ashes has been absolute garbage. If possible, it's probably even worse than Krakoa. I mean, I know that's hard to say because the ideas behind Krakoa were so bad, but the fact that you had a chance to kind of like right the ship, and this is what you've done, is it's really depressing. And I feel a little bit bad for Doc because obviously he is such a hardcore X-Men collector, more hardcore than even me. Like, I have a complete run of X-Men, but I don't have every variant of every cover. Like this was one that only went to Rite Aids in Kentucky. That's how serious Doc is. So it's gotta hurt a little bit more for him than it does for me. But yeah, that X-Men has been terrible. Spider-Man is obviously terrible. All the characters that I kind of grew up loving and followed, I don't even bother anymore. And now I kind of follow creators when they go on to books that I like, characters that I like, or if they're creating things on their own.
Yeah, I think that's probably the safest way to read comics these days. Find the creators that are good, that you really appreciate their style and what they're coming forward with in comic books, because there's going to be some consistency of that, and it's probably just a safer bet to follow your favorite creators rather than your favorite characters, because if you're a Nightwing fan, you had the Tom Taylor stuff, which was kind of generic and boring, but you're following it up with Dan Waters, and it's far worse, and you're going to be stuck with it for a couple of years at least.
And it kind of worries me because Dan Waters is jumping over to Mask, which is already hampered by the fact that, we've got not Matt Tracker in the lead of Mask. We've got a race-swapped Matt Tracker, which, I don't think it's Dan Waters' fault. I think that's probably a Hasbro edict. It has been since they did it in the IDW days, because Brandon Easton wanted to do it as one of the writers. And I immediately told them that that's going to fall flat on its face, and it did. But, hey, let's keep repeating failure. See how it works out.
I don't know. He did the Destro book. He did the Destro miniseries when they did the Scarlet one, and it was certainly better than Scarlet. I'm not going to pretend that it was anywhere close to that, but I didn't think his Destro book was all that good. I don't think he's good at superheroes in general for the most part, unless it's something very stylized like Batman Dark Patterns. And I just think he's probably a terrible fit for Mask. But you're not excited for Mask?
No, I'm not, because I'm going to buy the Vanessa Warfield cover and then I'm out, because it's not my Mask. It's I'm not interested in reviving the IDW Mask that wasn't my Mask either. I think that if you wanted a black lead, you had a really good opportunity to elevate Hondo McClane. You could have written out Matt Tracker. You could have made that a mystery. He could have been missing. There's any kind of number of things that you could have done, and Hondo had to step up into the leadership role. And I would rather see an existing black character that I have an attachment to, that I care about. I would rather see that character elevated than see just a character that was once white be turned into a hand-me-down. That's basically, and that's basically what it is it's like race swaps are just hand-me-downs. It's like, hey, here's something for you. We didn't give you a unique character. We just turned a character black for you. Aren't we progressive? Aren't you proud?
Yeah.
I think
Not
it's insulting.
excited for Mask.
I think it's insulting. You know, my friends that you know, that like it's supposed to appeal to, they find it insulting and pandering. And I think that, aren't we past this now? 2016 was a long time ago.
No, we got the Harry Potter trailer.
Yeah.
That shit's alive and well. But it's a take on Mask. It's very similar to a pitch that you had at one time.
Mm-hmm. It's yeah. So you know, when IDW said they were doing Mask, I said, "Here's how," and they were going to incorporate. You know, how do we incorporate it into their universe? I said, "Oh, this is how you do it," and I laid it out and didn't get the gig, but that idea, sure. And I'm not saying that like, you know, every idea is an idea that nobody else can come up with, but I just thought it was pretty coincidental.
Anything else that you think should be on the not list that we should mention before we in this bad boy?
Anything with Harley Quinn, anything with Deadpool should be on the not list. Those characters have been utterly destroyed. You know, basically most of Marvel should be on your not list.
The entire publisher.
Their entire line, yeah. What's the point? You know, just read Philip Kennedy Johnson's Hulk. You know, maybe dip in on a miniseries here and there.
There's some decent Punisher stuff right now.
Yeah, some decent Punisher stuff. Buy the Spider-Man Wolverine trade when it comes out if you haven't read the floppies. You know, that's a good read. Yeah, and I actually ran into Kari Andrews at MegaCon. You know, I've met him before, but always super nice guy. But yeah, like I'd avoid most of that. I'd avoid most of DC. Anything that feels like they're just putting it out there to pander to a certain group, just avoid like the plague, because they're not going to have top talent on it, and it's not going to matter. You know, read the Jeremy Adams stuff. Read Absolute Wonder Woman. You know, it's like I've always said, credit where it's due. If somebody comes in and they're writing something good, and I haven't particularly enjoyed their work before, I'll happily praise it. And I think that Kelly Thompson has kind of found her groove, and she's found her niche on Absolute Wonder Woman. It's the best concept out of all of the Absolute books, and I enjoy it more than I enjoy even Big Dumb Batman.
You know what's weird? You're the fifth person I've talked to. You're the first one that's mentioned Absolute anything as a hot or not. It is like the biggest thing in all comic books. I figured somebody was going to bring up Absolute Batman or the Absolute Universe. You're the first person to do it, dude.
Am I really? Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. You know, it's like Absolute Batman. It's kind of the hottest thing right now. A lot of it's hype and a lot of it's speculator, but you know, it is telling a fun story that I think is aimed at a manga crowd. It's kind of over the top and ridiculous Batman, and that'll be popular for a little while. I think it's still got some legs, but I think that out of all of the Absolute books, surprise of surprises, Kelly Thompson's actually the one who's I think is really knocking it out of the park.
Dude, you know who's loving Absolute Batman?
Who?
Mr. Snyder. Not Scott Snyder, Jesse Blaze Snyder.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, I'm sure Scott Snyder's enjoying it.
No. We suggested it to Jesse. I was like, no, it's a fun book. Go check it out. And he fell in love with it.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. So we've made a lot of recommendations to him. We got him into Transformers. He's into G.I. Joe now. Like he's listening to us. He's calling us. He called Drew and I. Drew and I were standing in line to get on the plane, and Jesse called us, and he's like, "I'm in a comic shop, and they close in 10 minutes. Tell me something to buy."
Space Ghost.
Well, I can't. I can no longer, in good conscience, recommend Space Ghost since I'm blocked. Like Sully, I'm blocked.
By that Pepos guy.
Yeah,
well,
and I know him.
He was
I know
your
him personally.
friend.
No, I don't know that we were friends, but we were certainly friendly. I thought. I mean, he'd never been over to my house or anything.
Yeah, but you bought him a butterbeer at Wizard World or something.
I've never been to Wizard World. I've been to Wizard World, but I've never been to the Wizarding World. Why do you conflate these two all the time? I've never had a butterbeer.
I swear to God, one time you said that you and Tim Seeley were at Wizarding World and he bought you a butterbeer.
This is
like,
not
I remember
true.
The story.
Tim Seeley and I were at a really miserable Wizard World convention, and we were both depressed because the show sucked so bad. And Tim said, "Come on, man, I'll buy you a beer." And we went over to the beer vendor and we had a beer and drowned our sorrows. That's the story. We were not in a
What I saw in my head
world.
was you and him with magic wands having a butterbeer with Hagrid serving you a fucking brew.
I mean, that's a better story, is we're both in robes and we've got our wands and they're bringing us butterbeers. That's a way better
It's
story.
a little
but that's
choosing hat. Gryffindor.
That's not what happened.
Oh man, it would have been more magical.
It would have been. Tim, if you're out there, you and
But I
me,
swear
universal
to God,
buddy.
that's what I understood your story the first time you told it to me. That's how I understood it.
Well, I mean, you embellished it. You made it better.
I did make it more fun.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Now I'm going to remember it that way.
I do hope that you enjoyed this very special episode of the Hot or Not podcast. A little bit different format than normal. Normally, it's just me and Jim or me and Dylan sitting down, talking about all the new comic books of the week, talking about what the best stuff was, really hashing out and going in depth on why things were good or bad, or maybe why they were mid. And we have a lot of fun with that one. It usually comes out every single Thursday here on the channel. But this week, obviously, I'm out, so I wasn't able to do that. But we were able to hopefully give some people some recommendations and some ideas of what's really good in comic books today. And if you would like more of this and maybe that normal format, I do want to invite you to come over and visit me on the Patreon channel memberships. You get the Hot or Not podcast, the Doc Unfiltered podcast, the weekly Q&A. We got the Geek Fix. We got the Comics Guilds. Lots of stuff exclusive there for you to enjoy. You're seeing it all this week on a preview here on the channel and on Spotify. And I hope you go check us out and give us a chance on the Patreon and channel memberships as well.